And they're about to kick off at Leyton. Orient, Manchester City, the visitors. They have Real Madrid during the week. Let's join Chris Sutton and Chris Wise.
But they begin at League One, Leyton Orient. Great timing, off we go, FA Cup weekend. And really on an afternoon of live football and live rugby here on 5 Live and on BBC Sounds, like very few others, where there is so much to get your teeth into. This is a tremendous starter. Leyton Orient at their home at Brisbane Road in East London in the red and white, and Manchester City, the Premier League champions, FA Cup finalists last season, 7 times FA Cup winners, the visitors here. And Chris Sutton, as Manchester City have an early bit of defending to do down in their right back area. What a cracking afternoon of FA Cup football this should be.
Oh, it is, because this isn't the Manchester City of the last few seasons. They've shown their fragility, and Leyton Orient, who are flying at this moment in League One, have a long throw. And
immediately it comes in from their left back, Jack Curry, flicked on by Jayasimi, and eventually Manchester City are able to clear their lines up towards the halfway line. A minute played, 0-0. Kelman's chasing this one into the box, but Orient squares it across. Flag was up anyway. Ortega got his hands on the ball, wouldn't have counted even if it had come through to Sonny Perkins at that far post. So Leyton Orient 0, Manchester City 0, FA Cup, 4th round afternoon. And these are the two teams for you. For Orient, 4 changes from the side that were beaten here by Stockport County in League One last weekend. Into the side come Tom James, Jack Simpson, those two both defenders. Sonny Perkins, formerly of Leeds United, and Dialang Jayasimi. So in for Josh Keeley, the goalkeeper, and what a week he has had of attention in the build-up to this one, off the back of scoring in the FA Cup a few weeks ago for Leyton Orient to take their game to Oldham against extra time. Hold on to that thought. Here come Orient again. Jayasimi into the box on his left foot, trying to get it back onto his right foot on this left side. Good defending by Rico Lewis, the Manchester City right back, and the ball is into the hands of Ortega.
Yeah, you know what, just one long ball from the left centre half. Dan Happy and Jayasimi in on the left hand side. Should have been a bit more positive, try and get a shot off or cross the ball in. He dallied, and Manchester City scrambled the ball to safety.
Now play out through there, right back on this near right hand side, Rico Lewis, who moves forward in the Manchester City shirts, the change strip of the black and the luminous yellow stripes, and into the back line it goes for Vita Hayes, one of 2 debutants in this Manchester City team today. He and Nico Gonzalez both in that Manchester City starting 11. City with the ball on the edge of their penalty area. 3 minutes played, Orient 0, Manchester City 0. So the two teams for you, Keeley in goal for Orient, and then Tom James, Jack Simpson, Dan Happy and Jack Curry, and then Ethan Galbraith, the former Manchester United youngster, and Jordan Brown, and then Dialang Jayasimi, Jamie Donnelly, who's on loan from Spurs, Sonny Perkins and Charlie Kelman. I'll give you the Manchester City team in just a moment, because they're on the front foot here in Orient's box. Low effort from Grealish, wide of the post, and met by ironic jeers from those passionate Orient fans behind the goal of Josh Keeley.
Yeah, Jack Grealish out on that left hand side for Manchester City. Started against Salford in the last round, hasn't started since. An opportunity coming inside, as he likes to do, on his right foot, just dragging his shot wide of Josh Keeley's near post. I am reliably informed that Jack Grealish has played here before for Notts County, and he's lost 5-0, I'm told.
Well, that's very interesting. I had a flick through yesterday, Chris, to see if there were any Manchester City players who had played at Brisbane Road before, and I was struggling a bit to find any, so your knowledge is ahead of mine. Here come Orient down the other end. They're going from right to left in his first half. Lay off by Kelman. Low ball across. Ortega unsure. Real scramble inside the 6-yard box. Orient want a penalty. The referee has blown his whistle, but he's given a Manchester City free kick. But that ball from Jack Curry from the left-hand side caused no end of trouble to the Premier League champions.
And do you know what? Leyton Orient causing Manchester City problems in the early stages, just with long balls over the top. Well held up by Kelman, little back heel, and Curry, the ball fizzed across the 6-yard line. O'Reilly dallied, eventually went down. The referee deemed that as a foul. I'm not so sure he didn't handball that, you know.
Of course, we don't have VAR in the FA Cup this weekend, so there will be no reviews of any decisions of referee Darren Bond today.
I think Manchester United fans quite happy. No VAR after what happened last night, blimey.
Yeah, that Harry Maguire goal that stood very late on, meaning Manchester United are the first team into the FA Cup fifth round draw, which isn't until Tuesday night, as the ball goes all the way back to the Orient keeper, Josh Keeley, to give it a long kick upfield towards Giacimi, brought down on his chest by Rico Lewis, and nodded out to this right-hand side for Savinho, who's got it back to Lewis. Good strong challenge on him in midfield by Ethan Galbraith. He'll be pumped up for this, won't he, with his Manchester United links?
Absolutely. He's been Leyton Orient's best player this season, whether it's at right back or centre midfield. Gone for legs today alongside Jordan Brown. They had the option of Darren Pratley, but he is getting on a bit, isn't he? Nearly 40, I think.
Yeah, 40 in April, Darren Pratley. Yeah. I think we might see him a bit later on, though. He's been a crucial cog in this Leyton Orient team. City in possession, 15 yards outside Orient's penalty area. Switch of direction to the left-hand side. Grealish has got the ball, thinking about a step over. It's a layoff instead, and the ball comes into Orient's penalty area. It's nodded behind by Happy. It's a corner to Manchester City. Leyton Orient 0, Manchester City 0. 6 minutes play. Chris Sutton.
Yeah, there's a lovely switch of play from Savinho out on this right-hand side, left-footed, winger to winger. And Grealish in feeding the ball to Gundogan, but the cross was cut out. Leyton Orient, as we expected them to do, really narrowing up and trying not to let Manchester City play through the centre of the pitch.
8 changes from Manchester City from the team that were beaten by Arsenal last week. Omar Marmoush was one of those who started the game. He's on the corner and he's got it back again, and he swings it in with his right foot, the Egyptian, and that's deflected behind. So Manchester City will have a repeat of the situation from the opposite side to us, the far left. City going from left to right in this first half, and again Omar Marmoush placing that ball down in front of a big set of flats behind him, with lots of fans watching on as Marmoush swings it in, and the powerful header away by Tom James, the Leyton Orient right back, is met by a collective cheer from the Orient fans inside the stadium and those who are watching from the outskirts.
Yeah, lovely sort of position to take a corner from. All those flats and the balconies full of, I don't know whether they're all Leyton Orient fans, but if they were one of my flats, I'd be charging Chris to come and watch this.
Well, given the amount of people that are in some of those flats, I think they have. It's been over-publicised, if anything. Looks like a couple of house parties are going on in some of those flats around this stadium. It's a great old ground, Brisbane Road. Orient 0, Manchester City 0. One of the oldest clubs in London, Leyton Orient, as Manchester City beginning to get a grip on this game now, beginning to get a grip on the ball. They've got it again on this right-hand side with Savinho onto his left foot, chopping it back onto his right. A 1-2 with James McAtee, and then the challenge by Curry takes it behind for a Manchester City corner, but this one from the right-hand side.
Yeah, sticking well to his task there, Jack Curry. Going to have his work cut out against Savinho, but he's going to have to deal with him at times in those 1v1 situations.
So in comes the Manchester City corner. It's a slightly awkward one, and the ball has taken a couple of deviations on its way in and has bounced away harmlessly for a Leyton Orient goal kick. So finally I can give you that Manchester City team in full after the frantic first 8 minutes here. Ortega in goal, still no Ederson. Rico Lewis, Vitor Reis, the Brazilian, on his debut, £29.6 million signing from Palmeiras. He's in the centre-back position with Ruben Diaz, who's back from his groin injury, having missed the last 3. Orient have lost the ball on the edge of their penalty area from that goal kick, but they have got it and then relinquished it again to Rico Lewis. And then it is Nico O'Reilly at left back, Nico Gonzalez, £50 million arrival from Porto. I mean, Leyton Orient must be looking around and thinking, goodness me, there's a fair bit of cash facing us on this pitch today. He's in midfield with Gundogan, and then James McAtee, Savinho, Jack Grealish and Omar Marmoush. No Erling Haaland in the Manchester City squad today.
No, but that is a strong Manchester City team. Pep takes the cup competitions really seriously. And realistically, you think...
Nico Gonzalez into the box. Savinho square pass. Oh, it's missed at the far post. What a chance that is for Manchester City. I don't know whether Jack Simpson missing the ball there has perhaps put Ilkay Gundogan off his finish.
Absolutely. There's a brilliant little ball in behind the Leyton Orient backline. Savinho looked like his timed his run perfectly and is unselfish, just feeds the ball across the 6-yard line. Jack Simpson, the Leyton Orient centre half, is there first, takes a wild swing at it, misses it completely, and Ilkay Gundogan, with the goal gaping, somehow shunted his shot wide of the right-hand post.
Jack Simpson, who has played in the Premier League and actually made his debut for Bournemouth at Manchester City 7 years ago. Nearly an awkward moment for him. It's a Leyton Orient throw up the other end of the pitch. 10 minutes played at Brisbane Road on this slightly misty, slightly drizzly afternoon. It feels like it's got all the ingredients of a great cup tie. If the first 10 minutes are anything to go by, I think we're going to get one here. It's going to be a throw from Jack Curry into that near post again, on by Jayasimi for Leyton Orient, off the back of the jumping Gundogan, and then dropping at the feet of Gundogan for Grealish, and then a brilliant challenge from Galbraith on Marmoush on the halfway line. Came from a distance, cleanly won the ball.
Absolutely crucial challenge, because I tell you what, had Marmoush taken another touch there, he would have been away. He can run, can Marmoush, and Galbraith got back as timely as you like.
Looks at least like Leyton Orient are going to give Manchester City a bit more of a game than Salford City did in round 3 in that 8-0 Manchester City win.
Yeah, I mean, you can never discount Manchester City going on a goal glut, but Leyton Orient are flying, aren't they, in League One this season? They've mixed the game up well, and there's no real great pressure on them. Not the expectation for them to win, but it's a what if, isn't it, for the Leyton Orient manager Richie Wellens and the players. And Richie Wellens will be desperate to put one over on Manchester City with his United connections.
Yeah, absolutely. Was a young player when Sir Alex Ferguson was at the club all those years ago, Richie Wellens, but ultimately was deemed not good enough to play for Manchester United, but did go on and make over 700 career appearances. Richie Wellens had a brilliant career. Here comes City, right side of the penalty area, Savinho across goal, and then Grealish left it. The shot was deflected up into the air, and Orient eventually able to clear their lines, but not with a bad bit of nerves before Jayasimi gets the roar of the crowd again for that sliding challenge on Nico Gonzalez.
Yeah, it was too easy initially though. Savinho is a box of tricks, isn't he, out on the right hand touchline for Manchester City, getting the cross in. Nico O'Reilly with a wild swing at the ball, didn't get the correct contact.
I mean, he's playing as a left back, Nico O'Reilly, but he's drifting in field almost as if he's making up an extra man in midfield in these early stages. Leyton Orient 0, Manchester City 0, and Jack Grealish has got the ball for Manchester City inside the final third, far left hand side. Gundogan now with the spin on the edge of the box. Pass was a little loose. Jayasimi got his boot to it, and Nico Gonzalez has gone piling into him, so it's going to be a Leyton Orient free kick. Let's see how things have started in the other FA Cup game that got underway at 12:15. Leeds against Millwall. Fraser Dainton.
13 minutes gone here, still goalless. The home side having to do the majority of the defending in these early stages. Having said that, Sam Chambers has just gone close for Leeds, driving one over the bar from just inside the penalty area, but at the moment still 0-0.
Thank you, Fraser. That is live right now as well on 5 Live Sports Extra and via BBC Sounds. And of course, we've got such a bumper day of FA Cup football for you. Wigan against Fulham later on with Ian Dennis and Pat Nevin and the usual goal service. Everton against Bournemouth is available on 5 Live Sports Extra. Birmingham City against Newcastle from 5:45 tonight. That's going to start on Sports Extra because of the Rugby England-France on 5 Live, and then we'll pick it up a bit later on 5 Live. Here's Kelman going through the middle for Orient. Charlie Kelman on the stretch, Ortega with a save. Plunging in his near post, the Manchester City goalkeeper. There's a few Orient fans who feel that ball might have gone behind for a corner, but the referee's had a look to the assistant referee. The flag didn't go up, so Manchester City play on. Big chance for that for Kelman, Chris.
It was a big chance. Important save from Ortega. But he just took a heavy touch. It's the first time we've actually seen Jamie Donnelly, who's been excellent for Leyton Orient this season, Tottenham loanee, drift out to the right-hand side, played a quick ball into Brown in the middle of the park, and he slipped the ball through to Kelman, who took a couple of decent touches, then a heavy one, and the angle against him, Ortega made a crucial save. Got to say, Vita Hayes didn't cover himself in glory in that duel up against Kelman.
He's on his debut today. Of course, you remember Abdulkadir Kusanov's debut at the Etihad against Chelsea a few weeks ago. The Uzbekistani didn't have a great first few minutes, did he?
No, and he's benched today, isn't he? So Pep not quite got the faith in him again just yet. This is a chance for City though, isn't it?
Yeah, Grealish has been tripped about 10 yards outside the box, and Manchester City have one of the best set-piece takers now in European football over this. Omar Marmoush, who has been scoring some brilliant goals and from free kicks for Frankfurt in recent weeks. Here he is, the Manchester City new boy. He's hit that one into the wall, and O'Reilly trying to keep it alive. Marmoush has got it again, and he can't quite shift it out of his feet, and eventually it's gone behind for a goal kick.
I mean, there you were, Chris, talking him up. I knew it. Once you talked him up, I mean, that was pretty dismal, wasn't it, in the end, the free kick, right-footed into the Leyton Orient wall. I've got to say, Richie Wellens will be delighted with the start from his team. They've carried a threat. We know they're going to have to defend really strongly to keep out this Manchester City team. They've shown very little fear.
I have to tell you, the free kick wasn't as dismal as the commentator's observation. Leyton Orient 0, Manchester City 0, 15 brilliant minutes of football so far at Brisbane Road, which is absolutely packed, 9,200. Oh, shot from distance, it's off the bar, it's in! That is unbelievable! Leyton Orient have scored the most amazing goal! It's from about 40 yards out, and the goalkeeper Ortega was off his line, and it beat him, it hit the bar, and it bounced in off the Manchester City goalkeeper. It's a famous FA Cup goal, not just because it's come against Manchester City, but because it's one of the most amazing goals you'll see for many, many years, and it's come for Orient, and it's come amongst a flurry of incredible noise. Orient 1, Manchester City 0, and ultimately it's an own goal from Ortega.
But this is so good from Donnelly. He must be, you said 40 yards. I think he's further out than that. He's near the halfway line and just spots Ortega off his line, and left-footed floats a shot over Ortega, who's desperately scampering back. It's off the bar, it does hit Ortega and go in, but what a spot and what a story. Absolutely sensational from Donnelly.
Well, he is the player that all week, me and you, Chris, when we met up this morning, we'd had individual Orient fans saying to us, keep an eye on him, the Tottenham loanee, because he's one of the best players that Orient have had in many, many years. He's just scored something outrageous.
Yeah, well, Marmoush goes through on the left-hand side of the box.
Yeah, hold that thought. Here comes City. Marmoush inside the penalty area. The layoff for Grealish. Grealish just putting his foot on the ball. Manchester City must feel a little rattled by that. It's a Manchester City-esque goal. It's been scored by an Orient player that's put them behind. Marmoush shooting, driven down and cleared away by Leyton Orient.
Yeah, well, I have a friend who's a Leyton Orient fan, and speaking to him in the week, he said this player is the best technical player Leyton Orient have ever had. And I said, don't be stupid, you've had Harry Kane. He said, I'm telling you, and just watching him execute that shot, well, my mate Fred, the Leyton Orient fan, he may be onto something.
Would he have predicted that though, Chris? Who could have predicted that?
Well, he'll tell me he would.
What a goal, what an unbelievable goal. I cannot tell you how good it is, and if you want to actually visually see it, the game is also live this afternoon on BBC One. Watch it and then watch it again. Watch it for years. Grealish's cross from the left, cleared away by Ethan Galbraith. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0. What a scoreline this is in the FA Cup.
Yeah, and now Leyton Orient, something to hold on to. You know, they're going to work hard defensively, but getting that goal, that will do them the world of good, give them plenty of confidence.
In comes the delivery into the box. Here's a chance for City to level. Good save by Keeley. It was a delivery that was landing right on the foot of James McAtee, who was sliding in, but he couldn't ultimately divert it either side of Keeley.
Yeah, made a couple of telling runs, didn't he, against Salford City in the last round. It's a good spot from the left back, Nico O'Reilly. Timing of his run, McAtee, was excellent. He was just stretching. He got a tame right-footed effort in, and comfortable gather from Keeley.
Bradford 1, Harrogate 0 in League 2, one of the early games in the EFL today. We'll keep you updated with all the scores, but no scores will feel like the score that we've got here right now. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0, and the players, Chris, the reaction of the players when Jamie Donnelly did that. He went running off into the corner of the ground and all of them went after him.
Not just the reaction of the players, I think the reaction of us, the reaction of everybody in this stadium. What a special goal. Such a big occasion. And, you know, driving down here today, you're thinking, can you give Leyton Orient a chance? And, you know, they're going well in League One, but this is the mighty Manchester City. But for them to come out and play with such bravery and confidence tells you a lot about where they're at this season. It's Nico Gonzalez down, isn't it?
Yeah, he's getting some treatment here. The Manchester City new boy with his blue boots on. He's sat on the Brisbane Road surface, and we've just had a moment with a pause in the game. I was looking round this ground, Chris, and there were Leyton Orient fans everywhere you look, waving red and white scarves around their head. It was like a scene from an FA Cup game of years gone by.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant scenes. There was a nice buzz at the start of the game, but now to take the lead against Manchester City, who would have believed it? Manchester City got to somehow find a way of turning this down, but that doesn't look good, does it?
No.
Gonzalez, what a debut for him. Bernardo Silva stripped coming on.
Yeah, Manchester City are going to have to make a change here. So Nico Gonzalez there, £50 million signing from Porto on his debut, former Barcelona man. It is a first Manchester City appearance that has lasted little over 20 minutes. He is off, and Bernardo Silva on to replace him.
Yeah, I mean, it is a shame. And essentially, he was brought in to add a bit of clout to that central midfield area for Manchester City, and then 20 minutes in, he's hobbling off. Silva coming on. Be interesting to see how Manchester City set up, whether Bernardo Silva's going to play that deep lying player.
So away we go again then with Manchester City with a throw in their right back area. Rico Lewis giving it back to Hayes, who didn't give a great pass back to Ortega, had to hurry his clearance away, the Manchester City keeper, up to the halfway line where Jack Simpson gets his foot on the ball, the Leyton Orient centre half, and returns it to Josh Keeley. And you thought, Chris, that Josh Keeley would probably be Leyton Orient's story in terms of goals in this FA Cup season, and Jamie Donnelly's gone and done that today and has whipped the headlines away from him. Here's Jayasimi, flags up against him. He was running through hoping to have another chance at Ortega's goal, but he's flagged for offside.
And you can look at that two ways, and you can say good line from Manchester City. Jayasimi, was a yard or two offside, but they don't half take a risk with that high line, and Leyton Orient midfield and forward players just need to be careful with the timing of the runs.
Let's go to Ellen Road, shall we? Leeds Millwall again, Fraser Dainton.
Still goalless here, the game really yet to spark into life, but Leeds have just gone close again. Wilfried Gnonto from close range, this time with an acrobatic effort, but the keeper Liam Roberts for Millwall didn't really know much about it. He did well to palm the ball away. Still goalless here at Ellen Road.
And Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0, the scoreline here on 5 Live and via BBC Sound. You can listen to Leeds Millwall in full on 5 Live Sports Extra this lunchtime as well. And of course we've got Six Nations coming later today as well here on 5 Live. England against France at Twickenham, getting underway at 4:45, a game that will begin on 5 Live Sports Extra, and then as soon as we're done at Wigan Fulham, one of our FA Cup commentary offerings this afternoon, we will get that straight on 5 Live for you. But this really is quite the tale developing here with the Premier League champions behind League One Leyton Orient. Savinho has just smashed the ball from point blank range straight into the face of Diolang Jayasimi, so no surprise that he has gone down and is holding his face here, and he might need a little bit of attention. So let's get the early stages of what's happening at the Stadium of Light in the Championship. This is Sunderland against Watford. Adam Cottier.
We're in the 9th minute here. It is 0-0. Sunderland have just had a shot. Chris Rigg with a left-footed effort that was comfortably saved by Watford's debutant goalkeeper Elgil Selvik. Not quite got the same tempo as your game, Chris. It's 0-0.
I wonder how things have begun at the Hawthorns, West Brom, Sheffield Wednesday. Paul Scott.
9 minutes on the clock. It's West Brom 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0. The home side passing the ball around with a degree of confidence, but they haven't really mustered any clear-cut opportunities. West Brom 0, Wednesday 0.
And to the team that won here last weekend, Stockport against Barnsley in League One. It's been watched by Maz Faruqi.
Yeah, 10 minutes played here at Edgeley Park. Still goalless. Both sides in tree, still finding their rhythm, finding their way into this game. It is Stockport 0, Barnsley 0.
No surprise, Chris Sutton, to see Diolang Jayasimi still down, needing a bit of treatment to that facial injury, because he has had that clouted at him.
Yeah, from a yard or two away. Savinho Manchester City right-hand side, trying that big switch to his fellow winger Jack Grealish on the left, and unfortunately for Jayasimi, he got his face in the way, but he's up on his feet. Let's hope he's okay.
Yeah, he is walking off. He's taking a swig of water. The player who was on loan from Charlton last season at St Johnstone in the Scottish Premiership, and played actually in the FA Cup final last season for them in Scotland as well. He's off the pitch at the moment, plays back underway, so Orient as it stands reduced to 10 men, and Manchester City trying to take advantage of that. Grealish has got the ball down by the byline, he's up against Tom James, he's given it to O'Reilly, who couldn't quite get it back off Bernardo Silva, and now a bit of time perhaps for Orient to clear, and they do. They get it up towards Kelman, who's about midway inside his own half on the right. City are working hard to try and get the ball back off Orient, but the point is, Chris, I guess, is that Orient physically at least are matching Manchester City.
Yeah, absolutely, working ever so hard. G. Welland's talking about training this week, working mainly out of possession.
1-0 Leyton Orient lead against Manchester City, but since that goal from Jamie Donnelly, it has just been pure Manchester City possession, but they have been unable to break Leyton Orient down so far. This is Vitor Reis, the Brazilian, out to the right hand side for Savinho, in field with his left foot, the backtracking Donnelly there to cut it out, and uses his body well, shifts it to Jack Curry, and Curry gets his clearance upfield, but it's back in Manchester City possession.
It's wave after wave at this moment in time, but defending really narrowly Leyton Orient, and the onus is on the City wide players. Grealish here to beat the man and create something. Grealish wins the corner.
Yeah, corner to Manchester City. So let's go to the Women's FA Cup fifth round game that's taking place between Aston Villa and Brighton this lunchtime, and Nick Hatton is there.
42 minutes gone, still goalless. This game though sprung to life in the last 5 minutes or so. Nadine Noordam shot from a narrow angle, forcing the Villa goalkeeper D'Angelo to palm onto a post. Villa on the counter-attack, lovely run down the right, ball in, header from Gabby Nunes, tipped over well by Loic. It's 0-0.
Manchester City corner, Marmouche into that near post, caught by the big frame of Josh Keeley, and both his arms outstretched above his head, and has taken that ball into the chest. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0.
Yeah, it wasn't a great corner, straight on top of Keeley. What a season he has had, and Leyton Orient season, from the moment he got that goal against Oldham, their season has gone through the roof. They've really kicked on, went on an 11-game unbeaten run, and just have so much confidence.
He's from Dunboyne, which is a little town in Ireland, not too far outside of Dublin. His parents are here today. He said if there'd have been enough tickets available, his whole town would have been here today to see him play. And at the moment, he's got a clean sheet against Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, and Orient have scored down the other end through the most brilliant goal you will see all weekend, as the misplaced pass from Nico O'Reilly, the Manchester City left back, was behind Grealish, and it's out of play for an Orient throw midway inside their half, far right hand side, in front of those Manchester City fans. Chris Sutton, who must be wondering what direction their campaign is going to turn in next.
Well, yeah, I bet Pep's wondering that. Just going back to that goal, we see it a lot, players shooting from distance near the halfway line, and for Donnelly to actually execute that skill and be that exact, well, I mean, it was a phenomenal moment. You're right, one of the great FA Cup goals. It will go down as there's an own goal, but Ortega couldn't quite get back. But what a moment for Leyton Orient.
It feels cruel, doesn't it, that in the history books it'll say Ortega and then in brackets OG next to it.
I suppose we could say that's the greatest FA Cup assist then, maybe.
And possibly the greatest FA Cup own goal as well. Maybe falls into both of those categories. City in possession, just inside Orient's half, on the right, and they are moving forward with James McAtee, whose left-footed cross has gone all the way to the far post. Grealish has brought it down well, and he squares it for Bernardo Silva, whose shot is blocked. Orient haven't got it away yet, and then McAtee has lost his balance just as he was about to pull the trigger, and now the red and white shirts of Orient flood forward with a bit of purpose of their own. It's a nice ball by Curry up to the halfway line, and the attempt from Sonny Perkins to continue to move forward with his pass towards Kelman is intercepted, and Manchester City have it back. Orient 1, Manchester City 0.
There's a good spot from Jack Grealish on that left-hand side, coming inside, looking to maybe get a shot off, and he just feeds the ball to Bernardo Silva. That crucial block, I think it was from Simpson, the Leyton Orient backline.
We've had our first goal at Ellen Road, Leeds Millwall. Fraser Dainton.
Millwall lead by 1-0. A speculative shot from Femi Aziz as he ghosted his way into the penalty area. It took an almighty deflection and went past Carl Darlow in the Leeds United net, who was absolutely stranded. Aziz will claim it, but it will probably go down as an own goal. Millwall lead 1-0.
Bit of danger for Leyton Orient there to fend off. Marmouche was inside the Leyton Orient penalty area, but Dan Happy, who was, not only is he beautifully named, but he will have the biggest smile on his face right now, as will the rest of the Orient players. He's given that a big hoof to clear it away, but Manchester City, as they have been really since that own goal from Ortega, coming back at Leyton Orient consistently, persistently, and with the ball right now 20 yards outside the Orient penalty area, right in the middle of the pitch. They're going from left to right, Manchester City, in this first half. Savinio, nice little ball in round the corner for Rico Lewis, and another excellent challenge from Galbraith, not for the first time, the little midfielder making a lunging block on it.
Yeah, when we talk about Rico Lewis starting the game as a Manchester City right back, he's playing as a right forward now. Manchester City with 5 players in the front line, building with a 3-2-5, making a forward run. Another corner for City.
This time from the right-hand side, the header towards goal, held well. It was Vitor Hayes, I think, who chucked himself at it, and Josh Keeley has clung on to it. So let's go to the Stadium of Light for one of the early Championship games, because there's been a goal with you, Adam Cottier.
Sunderland are unbeaten here this season. They have the lead against Watford. A corner kick from Enzo Lefebvre from the left, over to the back post, volleyed back across, and Luke O'Nien flung himself at the ball with a diving header. He scored right on the line. Sunderland 1, Watford 0.
It's half-time in the Women's FA Cup 5th round game between Villa and Brighton, but Nick Hatton, there was a goal just before the whistle.
Just before, we had 2 before the whistle, actually. Chris, 2 goals in the space of a minute. It is Aston Villa 1, Brighton 1. The half-time whistle has just gone. Brighton taking the lead through Nikita Paris. Lovely through ball for her. Looked like she'd overrun it slightly. The Villa defence couldn't deal with it. Paris picked it up and slotted past D'Angelo from 8 yards out. Villa straight from the kick-off, went up the other end, won a corner, and there was Anna Patton to bundle home at the far post. Half-time here then, Aston Villa 1, Brighton 1.
We've got a pause in the game here because Josh Keeley, the Leyton Orient goalkeeper, is receiving some treatment, but I wonder, Chris Sutton, whether that falls into the category of just sit down for a couple of minutes, let us get our breath back, let us get this Manchester City momentum off our backs.
Yeah, I think so. Try and take the sting out of the game. Manchester City totally dominant now, and the Keeley's just rolled his ankle there. He does look uncomfortable. And his hands on his knees now, just pulling his socks up. I say Leyton Orient, their socks have been well and truly pulled up at the start of this game so far. Manchester City have the throw in. Keeley threw it out, didn't he? You expect Manchester City to return the ball, being good sports, we would hope.
Even at 1-0 down, I think that is what they're going to do. Savinio's got the little orange ball in his hands, which is going to go back in Leyton Orient's direction very shortly. 33 minutes in, Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0. We don't have any screens up here in our commentary position today, high up in the Justin Edinburgh stand, the West Stand here at Brisbane Road, but I'm told that Noel Gallagher is in that Manchester City away end today.
Yeah, he's probably not enjoying the game at this moment in time, but he'll just have to roll with it.
Yeah, it's gone from a definitely to a maybe for Manchester City here. That Jamie Donnelly goal, which will be available, I'm sure, by now on online on the BBC Sport website. Please go and watch it. It's one of the great goals from almost. Well, I initially said 40 yards. Yeah. You said you want to upgrade that to about 50, I think.
Well, it's a long way. I'd love to know.
We'll get the tape measure out on that at some point, but he's
at half time.
Yeah, he's lobbed Ortega and the ball's hit the crossbar and it's bounced down and it's hit the Manchester City goalkeeper and gone in off him, and that is why we have a scoreline here in the FA Cup 4th round of Leyton Orient 6th in League One, leading Manchester City 5th in the Premier League by 1-0, and Manchester City, who have got the ball here 15 yards inside Leyton Orient's half, and they've got it on the right hand side with Savinio with the number 26 on his back. It's a weird font, the numbers on the back of the Manchester City shirt. I don't know what the right name would be to describe the font of those numbers, Chris, but it's...
Well, I don't know why you're asking me.
Not a graphics expert.
Well, not an expert in anything.
I had you down as a Microsoft Word man, Chris, but maybe I've got you wrong.
I think that's my son's.
Here's Ruben Diaz. He's got the number 3 on his back. That's very obvious. Now to the right-hand side for Rico Lewis, with his hair bobbing around as he plays it further to the right for Savinio, who's up against Curry, the Leyton Orient left back, and Jayasimi won the ball initially off Savinio, has then lunged in at his feet at the second attempt and has given away the free kick, and won now in quite a dangerous position for Richie Wellens' team.
Yeah, and then Moosh over to take it. It's one where too wide really to shoot. This will be all about the delivery. Savinio on the ball as well. Jayasimi working back and doubling up, trying to help out Jack Curry, the Leyton Orient left back, but just slightly rash on that occasion.
So Leyton Orient getting a 2-man wall in position. Savinio and Marmouche the options with right or left foot potentially from this right hand side, a few yards outside the box on this near right hand side. Richie Wellens down there, the Leyton Orient manager, in his black padded jacket, giving desperate instructions to his team down on the touchline. Marmouche has got his right hand in the air as he prepares to deliver this free kick. Right footed, the flick on is gone behind. It was Gundogan, and it's deflected out for a Manchester City corner.
Yeah, Gundogan just got the run on Charlie Kelman in that near post space area. Glancing header. Kelman in the mid-drift and behind for a corner. Yet another one.
Yeah, and it's from the right-hand side. It's a short one for Savinio. It was on his right, then back on his left. Good work from him. Lifted up to the far post, down off the chest of Diaz, teeing it up for Grealish. And then Gundogan couldn't beat the crowd, and there were many red players in the way. It's back with Grealish again. Grealish inside the box. Far post is Bernardo Silva. It's cleared off the line by Leyton Orient. That was some really heroic defending in there. I think it might have been Sonny Perkins.
I thought it was Donnelly back on the line. Crucial block, ball was going in, and Donnelly hacks the ball to safety. Grealish should have taken a shot on early when Diaz, little cushion header back to him. I think a confident Jack Grealish would have done. The ball sat up a little bit, but decided to take a touch and clip the ball to the far post.
It's having to survive a City onslaught here, Leyton Orient. They've got 8 minutes to go of the first half. That's a late challenge on Grealish on the left side of the penalty area. No wonder he is hurt, Jack Grealish, there, because Ethan Galbraith, who up to then the Leyton Orient midfielder, had timed every challenge brilliantly. He didn't time that one right.
No, he'll be lucky not to see a yellow card, but I think he's just getting an old-fashioned talking to. Led away with that one. That'll be his final warning, I think.
Swindon 1, Port Vale 0, the latest in one of the League 2 games that have got underway at 12:30. So Manchester City 1-0 down at Leyton Orient at the start of this FA Cup 4th round Saturday. We've got Wigan, Fulham, Birmingham, Newcastle and Brighton, Chelsea. Live commentary of all of those games to come across the afternoon. But this is turning into a tale for the ages here, but Leyton Orient have got some work to keep Manchester City at bay. City free kick, Marmouche in, punched away by Keeley. Savinio with the touch and the hit from the edge of the area, and he fizzes it over the top of the bar. Orient 1, Manchester City 0.
Yeah, Josh Keeley does well. The ball whipped in from the left-hand side, and there are Manchester City players getting across his eye line. That's why he doesn't try and catch the ball. He fists it out, and then Savinio, decent first touch with his left foot, and you're thinking, go on then, get over this one. He half volleys the ball high over the Leyton Orient crossbar, and Keeley once again taking his time, as we expect him to do.
I'm told, by the way, the Manchester City font on the shirts and the numbers is specially designed by the aforementioned Gallagher, and apparently is based on his handwriting, so that's why the numbers look like that. So if you'd have pulled that one out, I don't think you get that on Microsoft Word, would you? Even if you were an expert.
What is Microsoft Word?
Manchester City with the throw in their right back area. Lewis goes back to goalkeeper Ortega in the orange boots and the bright white gloves. It's his name that's on the score sheet at the moment, Stefan Ortega, an own goal. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0. 5.5 minutes to play of the first half, plus I imagine a few minutes of stoppage time as well amongst the carnage. Gundogan lifting it right down the middle for City, taken down by Savinio, shoots low. Orient got players back in the way. Tom James was the one who repelled it, the Orient right back, and then it's smashed away from danger by Donnelly. In the case of anywhere will do to get it upfield, and Ortega, in a bit of a panic, has headed that out of play for an Orient throw on the right.
It's a clever ball from Donnelly. It's a percentage ball. Leyton Orient player's not high enough to fizz one in, so he puts a bit of height on the ball, and Ortega sweeping up, heads the ball out. Leyton Orient have a throw in.
Those red and white scarves are above heads again, being waved around inside this old stadium. Just over 9,000 can fit in here. Stadium that was built back in 1937 for a club that was founded in 1881. And the last lower division team to beat Manchester City, Wigan Athletic, 7 years ago, and they were a League One team as well. You might remember that late winner from Will Grigg, Paul Cook's Wigan Athletic. Of course, they've got a bit of a history in recent years of big FA Cup wins over Manchester City. This is McAtee, 15 yards outside the Orient penalty area, shifting it infield for Gundogan, and on further still for Ruben Diaz, who is about 15 yards inside Leyton Orient's half. City going from left to right. Hayes tried to move it quickly, the Manchester City debutant, and his pass was cut out. And here's Donnelly, and he's pushed it forward down the left-hand side for Kelman. He's only got Perkins up in the box at the moment. Kelman with the pullback. It's Perkins, it's over the crossbar. Hit it first time, and it probably was about 3 yards over Ortega's bar.
Yeah, Ruben Diaz asking for an offside, such a high line. They're virtually on the halfway line, and he steps up, and Kelman, left-hand channel, feeds the ball across to Sonny Perkins.
Long ball forward looking for Marmouche. Out comes Keeley, the Leyton Orient goalkeeper. Just beats the Egyptian to it and puts his boot through it to send it upfield. And now Orient, good work by Perkins to win the ball. Jayasimi halfway inside Manchester City's half. He's hacked at by McAtee, having beaten him. McAtee's probably going to get booked for that. He is indeed the Manchester City man, and it's a Leyton Orient free kick, which is about 20 yards outside Ortega's box.
I've got to say, if McAtee gets a yellow for that, the earlier challenge from Galbraith, blimey, how did he not get one? I'll tell you what, Jamie Donnelly here, he scored from 20 yards further out. Why wouldn't he have a crack?
Well, Jamie Donnelly, who made his Tottenham debut at Manchester City 14 months ago in that very, very good 3-3 draw that was played out between those two. He's had 3 Premier League appearances for Tottenham. He's on loan here at Leyton Orient with this ongoing connection between Spurs and Orient. But of course, as we mentioned earlier, has seen the likes of Harry Kane have a loan spell here in his tender years.
And as long as Richie Wellens keeps his mouth shut, then I'll hope that relationship continues.
Yeah, we'll explain, we'll give a bit more clarity to that in a bit. Here comes the Orient free kick. No, it doesn't, hang on. Jayasimi's gone down inside the box, so the referee's going to have a little words with the offender, or the potential offender, which was Ruben Diaz. So Donnelly's replaced that ball down again. Tom James is there as well, the Orient fullback, but Donnelly with his quality looks the more likely here with his broad chest. No, he's left it actually, and James has hooked it up towards that far post. Happy was coming onto it. He was beaten to it, and Manchester City race away down this right-hand side, but they're 1-0 down at Leyton Orient, and McAtee ran out of room in the end. Jayasimi's taken it off his toes. Manchester City throw. Last 90 seconds of the first half plus stoppage time. Chris Sutton.
Yeah, great endeavour from Jayasimi to track back and win the ball back from McAtee. Manchester City huffing and puffing, haven't found a way through yet.
Well, it's not quite of last weekend's visits to the capital proportions for Manchester City, but it's the same sort of feeling, one that they do not want to find themselves in. 1-0 down to Leyton Orient here. This is Savinho down by the touchline on this near right hand side. He's got the throw, ball taken off his toes by the tall Jack Simpson, the Orient centre half. Quickly taken that throw for Manchester City to get it to Rico Lewis, and back 5 yards for Vitor Hayes. Here's Ruben Diaz, encouraged to move forward with it by his teammates, and then plays the short pass back in field so City can restart things again with Silva and Gundogan, and then round the corner again. This is nicely worked, but Bernardo Silva's touch just showed a bit too much of it to Jordan Brown, and Brown, the Orient midfielder, clears, but it's cut out by Rico Lewis, and we are not too far away from seeing fourth official Dean Whitestone's digital display to find out how long is going to be left of the first half here. And Orient will be absolutely desperate to get in to half-time with this scoreline. Orient 1, Manchester City 0.
Absolutely right. And Orient probably need half-time, but that discipline, that tracking back from Jordan Brown there when Bernardo Silva would have been in on the right-hand side of the box. They've really stuck to the task well defensively, Leyton Orient, so far.
6 minutes of stoppage time at the end of the first half, so there is a bit of work yet for Richie Wellens' team to do, and it is just wave after wave of Manchester City attacks. Marmoush has won a free kick here for Manchester City, but the referee is playing the advantage. Gundogan into the box, beautifully taken by Bernardo Silva. Great defending, Happy. Just got across his path, made sure that Silva couldn't get the shot away, and Keeley, the keeper's got his hands on the ball.
Yeah, Happy using all his strengths. Bernardo Silva just doesn't have that dynamism anymore, that zip to get away from players, and caught them when it's a brilliant first touch. But happily got back.
And somebody's happy in the game between Stockport and Barnsley, Maz Faruqi.
Yeah, and Stockport are ahead here, Chris. Tanto Oliafe firing in his 7th of the season in all competitions after the run forward. Stockport haven't been at their best, but they lead here. Stockport 1, Barnsley 0.
Thanks, Maz. I think there'll be a few Orient fans, not right now, but perhaps later on tonight, that will be paying attention to that scoreline, because it does affect them in terms of their playoff hopes this season. Here is Grealish moving forward very gracefully from midfield out to the left-hand side, where it's taken down by 19-year-old Nico O'Reilly, who got his first Manchester City goal in the third round of the FA Cup against Salford. Gundogan's ball into the box, cut out by the head of Simpson, the Orient centre-back, but they've got it back again here, City. McAtee trying to tiptoe his way through. This time the interception is by Happy, and now Orient, as they have done a couple of times in this first half, try and counter on City with Jai Simi, who's up to the halfway line. Galbraith has taken up the charge on the far right-hand side. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0. This is Perkins. Now Jai Simi, nice touch by Jai Simi. Dragged it away from Rees and then tried to play it into the path of Kelman, but there wasn't the space to do so.
And Mamouche making that run in behind a high line from Leyton Orient.
Yeah, and they're having to get back here, Orient, and quite quickly. Marmouche is in the box. Tom James times the challenge well, and then Cooley plays the pass back in field to keep possession for Orient and get it to Galbraith.
I think they've just tweaked things, Leyton Orient, with Tom James becoming more or less a third centre half, and Galbraith in that right wing back role.
Port Vale have equalised against Swindon in League 2. Swindon 1, Port Vale 1. We'll run through everything that's happened across the games in the EFL. That game at Ellen Road as well between Leeds and Millwall at half-time, as well as the Women's FA Cup. In the box is Marmoush. Keeley with a brilliant save. What a stop that is by the Orient goalkeeper. That is just adding to his FA Cup profile this season. He's just stopped Omar Marmoush, point blank range with his big spread of the body. And now Orient with Kelman running forward down the left wing, challenged by Rico Lewis. He's got it down by the corner flag. He's got the corner for Leyton Orient.
Yeah, and Josh Keeley celebrating to himself, and so he should. It's a lovely ball in from Savino, outside of the left boot from the right hand side. Good contact from Mamouche, volley into the floor, and Josh Keeley, big save.
Look at Pep Guardiola down there. He's stomping around inside his technical area. He's got his arms outstretched either side of him, the Manchester City coach. His team are 1-0 down to Leyton Orient, and they're having to defend a corner here. And Richie Wellens, as Guardiola is in his seat, is right on the edge of his technical area with multiple hand movements as Orient's corner into that near post. Didn't quite come to Jai Simi. The shot from distance is held by Ortega. It was Donnelly again. It took a deflection, and Ortega held on.
Yeah, wonderful technique once again from Donnelly. Headed clearance from Manchester City. Donnelly on the half volley, edge of the box. Caught it flush. I think there was a block in there. The ball, Ortega gathers eventually.
So last couple of minutes of stoppage time at the end of this first half. Is there one final Manchester City attack? Jack Grealish beaten to the ball by the sliding Ethan Galbraith. City throw in front of their own supporters. There's a few Manchester City flags draped over the terracing over there at the very front of that slightly lopsided east stand here at Brisbane Road. 6 minutes of stoppage time indicated. We've got 60 seconds left of it as Gundogan runs forward 15 yards outside the box, then comes back inside on his right foot, gives it to Rico Lewis, and Lewis into the feet of O'Reilly. But Orient in their deep block, they've got 11 men behind the ball, all inside their final third right now, just trying to run down these final few seconds of the first half as Ruben Diaz moves forward, gives it to Savinho back onto his left foot. He's been one of the trickier players for Leyton Orient to try and manage in this first half, but managed they have as Bernardo Silva swirls across in, headed away by Dan Happy. He'll be very content to get his head on those. That one's a slightly awkward one from him though at the second time of asking. And then Curry's ball to Simpson, and then Donnelly smartly back to Curry. Orient just need to keep the ball for a few more seconds, and they're going to have a famous FA Cup half-time scoreline. They've also got a free kick here.
Eventually, Peter Hayes, what a ridiculous challenge on Charlie Kelman. Long ball from Happy. Kelman takes it on the chest, and Peter Hayes just ploughs into the back of him. Perfect for Leyton Orient. Josh Keeley wanders up to the ball. This will probably be the last play of the first half.
And the passionate Orient chants can be heard very, very clearly right now around Brisbane Road, probably across East London as well. We are seconds away from the half-time whistle of Darren Bond here. Indeed, there it is. What a scoreline. What a story developing here at Brisbane Road. Leyton Orient of League One are 1-0 up against Manchester City, the 7-time FA Cup winners. And what a goal that divides the two. Jamie Donnelly with a shot from distance. It wasn't speculative because he meant it. He meant every bit of it. And it came off the bar and it bounced in off Stefan Ortega, the goalkeeper. And despite Manchester City pressure and a couple of big chances, most notably for Omar Marmoush, which was beautifully blocked by Josh Keeley, the Leyton Orient goalkeeper, they are heading towards the most extraordinary win on this FA Cup fourth round weekend. At the break, Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0.
It's difficult to argue against, Chris, that they deserve it, isn't it? I mean, they've held their own.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Manchester City have penned them in for large periods, and Josh Keeley has had one or two saves to make. But I've really liked their intent from the off mark and the way they've gone about it. They have carried a threat going forward, but that goal from Donnelly, and as I was saying in commentary to Chris, a Leyton Orient fan who I know was saying this is the best technical player Leyton Orient have ever had, and I said, come on, that's ridiculous, Fred. I said, you've had Harry Kane. He said, I'm telling you. But when someone can produce a moment of magic like that, I'm not going to argue with Fred. That was jaw-dropping, that moment, to be here watching it and how that panned out. We see so many players try to execute that skill when they spot the keeper off the line, but for him to do it in the manner which he did, that was a wonderful FA Cup moment. It really, really was.
Are you suggesting that Fred knows more about what he's talking about than you?
I'm not suggesting, I'm telling.
Oh, right, okay. Is he around? Does he want to do the second half?
He's just I can see him down there. Right. He's not got his pie yet.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, I saw the exchange between Chris and Fred pre-match. They were giving each other a wave from across the stadium, and Chris held up his fingers to Fred, and one side said nil and the other said 5, so he's not great at predicting scores either.
I didn't say who.
He didn't say which way, to be fair.
Second half on the way with Chris and Chris, or Chris and Fred, depending on whether we can get him to the point or not. Second goal has come in League One for Stockport. Maz.
Yeah, from the penalty spot this time. Will Collar converting after Carl Knoll was brought down. They haven't been at their best again, but 2 goals up now, Stockport, with 5 minutes to go to half-time. Stockport Stockport 2, Barnsley 0.
They've won their last 4, have Stockport in the league, so they're going for their 5th win on the bounce, and it looks like they're going to get it at this stage. Another goal in the Women's FA Cup, Nick Hatton.
Yeah, 6 minutes into this second half, Mark, Villa have turned this around. Aston Villa 2, Brighton 1. It's Rachel Daly with a header at the far post. Deep cross from the right. Daly rising highest at that far post. Header back across goal beyond Loic to give Villa a 2-1 lead. Aston Villa 2, Brighton 1.
Let's go back to the FA Cup. The other game at 12:15 is Leeds Millwall. Not going to plan for the home side. Fraser Dainton.
Absolutely. Millwall leading by a 1-0 thanks to Femi Aziz on 30 minutes. His speculative shot taking a deflection. Darlow was stranded in the Leeds goal as it looped over the top of him. Aziz could have made it 2 shortly afterwards. His right-footed effort from just inside the penalty area, smashing against the woodwork. That seemed to spark Leeds into life. Chambers with an effort from just inside the penalty area, forcing a great save out of Liam Roberts in the Millwall goal. He has had a great game. But at the moment, with half-time here, Leeds United 0, Millwall 1.
Port Vale have turned it around on the stroke of half-time in League 2 at the County Ground. Swindon took the lead through a Will Wright penalty, his 5th of the season. Jaheim Headley equalising for Port Vale, and now 5 minutes before half-time, Laurent Tolage has given Darren Moore's side the lead. That's his 6th of the season. Swindon 1, Port Vale 2. To the early games in the Championship, let's go to the Stadium of Light. Adam Cottier.
Where Sunderland lead Watford by 1-0. Luke O'Nien with a header following a corner that was volleyed back across goal by Trey Hume. Well crafted, and Sunderland lead 1-0.
And to the Hawthorns, Paul Scott.
5 minutes to go until half-time here. It's West Brom 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0. The home side with the better of the chances. Carlin Grant swivelling and shooting over from 6 yards. And Torbjorn Hegem, the defender up from the back, saw his header well saved by James Beadle. It's West Brom 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0.
5 minutes or so to go in half-time in all the early EFL games. Goalless between Charlton and Stevenage. Stockport have that 2-0 lead over Barnsley. As we said, Port Vale turned it round to lead 2-1 at Swindon. Bradford lead Harrogate by a 0-0. Playoff chasing Bradford. Anthony Sasevich with the goal there. That's his 3rd of the season. Big afternoon of football, big afternoon of men's Six Nations. Italy, Wales first up, then England against France. We'll look ahead to both after Isabel Kimbry in the BBC News.
The voice of the UK.
And the home of the Six Nations.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The Israeli military says it's received 3 more Israeli hostages who've been released by Hamas in the 5th exchange of the Gaza ceasefire deal. The men are being taken to a medical facility. In return, Israel is freeing 183 Palestinians being held in jails. The Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has warned that President Trump's attempt to drastically cut foreign aid spending could be a big strategic mistake. A judge in Washington has placed a 7-day block on Mr. Trump's plan to put more than 2,000 workers at USAID on paid leave. A march is taking place in Sheffield to remember 15-year-old Harvey Wilgoose, who was fatally stabbed at a school in the city on Monday. Another 15-year-old has been charged with his murder. And PlayStation users have been experiencing problems. Multiple issues have been affecting the system since yesterday evening, which have left the online aspects of games such as Fortnite, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto and Marvel Rivals inaccessible.
I feel like I'm going to the Super Bowl.
On Sunday, Super Bowl 59 rolls into New Orleans.
And the kickoff is out of the end zone, right down the middle.
NFC champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, led by Jalen Hurts, are taking on AFC champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, who are looking to win their 3rd Super Bowl in a row.
The Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions.
Join NFL expert Greg Brady, former Pittsburgh Steeler Christian Scotland Williamson, and me, Stefan Powell. Super Bowl 59. Hear it all right here on 5 Live, Sunday night from 11:30.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is 5 Live Sport
with Mark Chapman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Straight to the Stadium of Light, where Sunderland were a goal up on Watford, but there's been another goal. Which way, Adam Cottier?
It's for Watford, and it's a penalty scored confidently by Tom Deli Bashiru. They created their first opportunity of the game. Doumbia with a header, superbly saved, but the teenager chased after the rebound, was tripped by Sirkin, and Deli Bashiru scores from the spot to equalise. Sunderland 1, Watford 1.
Nick Hatton at Villa Brighton in the Women's FA Cup.
Yeah, Villa extending their lead, Mark. 2 goals in 4 minutes. Villa 3, Brighton 1. Chastity Grant with it. Villa winning possession in midfield. Ball into that right-hand channel. Grant raced onto it and finished well. well across Lowick into the far corner. Villa 3, Brighton 1.
And Matt Godden's 12th of the season has just given Charlton the lead at home to Stevenage by a goal to 0, and Swindon have equalised against Port Vale in League 2. Dan Butterworth with that. Swindon 2, Port Vale 2. Right, let's talk men's Six Nations. We'll start Italy against Wales. James Hook is with us. Afternoon.
Afternoon, chappers. How are we doing?
Very well, thank you. Which side of the fence are you on? Biggest game for 20 years like Dan Biggar? Not the biggest game in 20 years, Warren Gatland.
No, I don't think it's a big game, particularly for the coaches. I wouldn't say it's the biggest game in 20 years. You know, they've had World Cup semi-finals and Grand Slam deciders, so I wouldn't say it's the biggest game, but it is a big game for the coaches in particular. You know, because if we don't win today, chappers, you know, it's difficult to see where we do find that victory then throughout the rest of the Six Nations.
If you're in that Wales starting 15 this afternoon, how are you approaching this psychologically?
Well,
it's not just another game, is it?
No, it's not. I think the players are well aware of the pressure they're under, you know, as are the coaches. You know, it hasn't helped that Dav Jenkins and Liam Williams have pulled out yesterday, so there's two changes in the starting lineup, so you know we're going to miss that experience of Liam Williams, particularly in the backfield. You know, the heavens have opened out here, chappers, so it's a wet room, you know, and the back three are going to be tested, so we're going to miss that aerial experience of Liam Williams. I expect a lot of kicking, particularly from Wales today. You know, they were criticised a little bit last week in terms of not managing that middle third. Gatland's mentioned Rhys Webb, how well he kicked 2 years ago out here in Rome, so I expect Wales to kick an awful lot more than they did last week.
And does that then ease some of the? Because obviously last week against the French, that's a completely different proposition. So by kicking more this week, does that ease some of the pressure on them?
Well, I think, you know, obviously if you kick more, you know, you're going to play for more territory. Yeah. So, you know, we didn't play in the right areas, did we? So we found ourselves, you know, in our own half an awful lot. So, you know, but I think, you know, it's not just about the kicking game. Our attack, when we kept ball in hand last week, we were lateral, we were deep, you know, we didn't really cause France any problems, and a couple of times we did get over the gain line. We ended up pulling the ball back 10-15 metres and you know, we sort of messed up, you know, the gains we made. So, you know, hopefully they've been working on that in the week. They've been down in Nice all week, you know, so hopefully the squad have got tight there, and hopefully they can, you know, change and get a performance, chappers. You know, we haven't really had a performance, you know, for the last year or so that we can look at and go, wow, that was impressive, you know.
I mean, Warren Gatland has also said when we've been in close games, we haven't been able to get over the line. So if it is close, do you sense they can get over the line? Do you see that strength that they can get over the line?
Well, that's it. You know, we haven't had the evidence of that over the last sort of year, 18 months. So, you know, usually in tight games, you know, you've got those match winners to rely on, and you know that's the difference. You know, this inexperience of the squad. You know, you just look at Italy have 12 starting today that started last year's game. Wales only have 4. So the inconsistency in selection. Gatland still doesn't know his starting team or his best starting team. That's evident. You know, and I suppose when it comes down to that last 10-15 minutes, you know, that really counts.
James, thank you very much. James Hook with us there, and it is on Sports Extra if you want to listen to that from 2:15. Italy against Wales in the men's Six Nations. Half-time whistles are going in the EFL games. Bradford 1, Harrogate 0 in League 2. Stockport 2-0 up on Barnsley at the break in League 1, Maz Faruqi.
Yeah, the goals coming from Tanto Isaac, Oliafe, and then a penalty then from Will Collar a couple of minutes before half-time. Barnsley, remember, coming into this game winless in their last 4, started really brightly. Best opportunity for them, Jonathan Russell looping one in, edge of the Stockport area over to the far post, which had the keeper scrambling, but other than that they haven't really tested the Stockport keeper. It is Stockport 2, Barnsley 0 at half-time.
Charlton leads Stevenage by a goal to 0 in League 1 as well. At the break, let's talk to former England international Chris Ashton, part of our team at Twickenham. Do you approve of the two Smiths being brought in for this?
Yes, I do. I'm an advocate of Finn Smith, that is for sure. I just don't know why. I don't really know why this game, to be honest. He had Japan, could have played him in that in the autumn, decided not to. It's a really big game to put him in, but he's a fantastic player, very creative. He's a very much a team organiser. He can move his team around the pitch, as he's done at Northampton to win the Premiership last year. It's just a big one to throw him into, chappers.
So again, it's sort of two sides of an argument here. Is it horses for courses depending on the opposition, or is it a sign of not knowing what your best 15 is?
Well, there has to be some sort of change because they haven't been able to get a win, which is the most obvious thing. Didn't get a win in the autumn aside from Japan, and then they've come and started the Six Nations in Ireland last week, and still the same story. They get to 50 minutes and they can't finish a game. And Marcus Smith's been in control of most of those games, and then we've lost our way, and he's decided not to go with George Ford, old head, the news experience. So I do think Finn Smith is the future of English rugby. It's just, I'm sure he would have liked not to chuck him in today in the deep end.
But I suppose if he'd played him last week, that's also the deep end, isn't it? In fact, the way England are at the moment, I mean, even a game against Italy is, whilst not the deep end, it's not the shallow end.
Yes, but had he done it last weekend, I think it would have been, right, we're in the Six Nations, this is what we see is our team going forward, Finn's going to lead it, Marcus is going to slot in a fly half or full-back, but he didn't. He went with Marcus again, which made us all think, okay, this is what he wants, this is the game he wants to plan, he wants to go with and stick with, but it didn't work, and then all of a sudden he's changed it again. So that's the confusion for people. Once you don't get the win and then you change in, especially such an important position as fly half, and change the back three again, there's just a lot of change going on. He's got to find a win from somewhere. I do think if you're winning games, chappers, you don't necessarily pick up in all these small moving parts, but when you're losing them, they just get more focused on.
And when the French make the changes, they're doing it from a winning position and bringing back players of strength as well, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, Steve wanted to wake up and see Pinot just slide back onto the wing. He's evaded 63% of tackles when in the French jersey as Pinot. Yeah, he's going to be, I think, an all-time great French winger. He's nearly the top try scorer for them already. And he doesn't even like scoring tries necessarily. He's just electric. He's so hard to catch. I'd like to think I could catch most people, but when we played France here at Twickenham a few years ago now, I thought I had him lined up and he just turned away from me into the corner to score the try. He's fast and he scores tries all the time, so it's a name that Steve wouldn't have wanted to see on team sheet.
I know you covered Sale Doncaster last night, so is it difficult to get up for this one this afternoon?
No different. Parallel games.
Yeah, okay, half time at the Stadium of Light. Adam Cottier.
Sunderland 1, Watford 1 here. Watford have acquitted themselves really well. They deserve to equalise via a penalty from Tom Deli Bashiru, taken right-footed low into the net. After the teenager Mamadou Doumbia had had a header saved by Anthony Patterson in the Sunderland goal. He chased after the rebound and was tripped clumsily by Dennis Sirkin. Sunderland ahead here with a header following a corner from Luke O'Nien against his old club, but they have laboured a bit here, the home team, and it's Sunderland 1, Watford 1.
That first half still going at the Hawthorns, by the way, and it is goalless between West Brom and Sheffield Wednesday. The second half is underway at Leyton Orient. Let's return to Chris Wise and hopefully Fred.
He's not made it up here yet, despite the request from Chris to come and join us for commentary, just so he can stand himself down. Did you hear from Fred at half time?
I didn't, but I heard from Five Live's Ian Dennis, who told me Jamie Donnelly's done that on a couple of occasions before for Spurs Academy. Not quite the same, but
yeah, what a goal it was. I mean, officially a Stefan Ortega own goal, but that is the situation here at Brisbane Road. Leyton Orient are leading Manchester City by a goal to nil, and Manchester City, who've got the ball on the halfway line at the moment, have made 2 half-time changes. Remember, they lost Nico Gonzalez to injury in the first half, and both the centre-backs have now been taken off. Here is Marmouche for Manchester City inside the Orient box, shoots low, it was weak, and it was held by Keeley. So Vitor Hayes on his debut, he's only lasted 45 minutes, he's gone off. Ruben Diaz has departed as well. John Stones and Abdul Qadir Kusanov, the Uzbekistani, are the 2 that are on for Manchester City. What do you make of that?
And interesting changes, maybe because of injuries, and Diaz hasn't had loads of game time recently. I think his last game was against in the Champions League, wasn't it, against PSG?
It was, yep.
And Hayes, I mean, difficult first 45 minutes for him. Kusanov, when he signed for Manchester City, he must have sort of dreamed about playing at Anfield and Old Trafford and what have you, and here he is at Brisbane Road.
The colours right.
Yep, well, plenty of work to do.
Yeah, Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0. I'll give you the 2 teams for you now. For Leyton Orient, Keeley in goal, James Simpson, Happy and Curry, and then Galbraith and Brown, Jayasimi, Donnelly, who had that shot from 50 yards that deceived Ortega in the first half that led to the goal. He's just in behind Kelman. Perkins is playing off the left-hand side, and Manchester City, Ortega, and then Lewis, Stones, Kusanov, O'Reilly, Silva and Gundogan. Here's Bernardo Silva in the box, couldn't quite get the ball down, and it bounces off his toe and through to Keeley. So it's McAtee, Savinho and Grealish and Omar Marmoush up front. And they did, Chris, have opportunities, Manchester City, in the first half. They offered quite a lot at Leyton Orient in that first 45
Yeah,
minutes.
I think Donnelly had one. He cleared off the line. You think about the Keeley save from Marmoush, but Leyton Orient did carry a threat.
Here's Sonny Perkins on this right-hand side. Low ball into the box. Oh, Kusanov with a bit of awkward defending. Kelman was on his shoulder. He got just enough on that, and Ortega eventually dived upon it.
Tell you what, brilliant ball in from Perkins. Fizzed in from the right-hand side across the 6-yard line, and Kusanov, to his credit, with Kelman lurking behind him, just got enough on the ball.
Must have been sensing Leyton Orient's leading scorer of his moment in the headlines. That's a tremendous challenge by their left back Jack Curry, on loan from Oxford United, was with AFC Wimbledon last season, to take the ball back for Orient in that left back area. But Manchester City have it again on the halfway line, and Rico Lewis bundling his way forwards, intercepted in midfield briefly by Jordan Brown for Leyton Orient. But City have it again with Nico O'Reilly 15 yards inside Orient's half on this right hand side. City going from right to left in this second half, so they are shooting towards the north stand over to our left hand side. It's a low roof with all those solar panels. I don't know if you've noticed all of those, Chris, on top of most of the stands here. There's over 800 of them that the club put in the summer to be a little greener. Here's Grealish into the feet of Savinho, now O'Reilly. Marmoush wants it back again, and O'Reilly's popped it between Grealish and Marmoush and straight through to Orient's keeper Josh Keenan.
Yeah, well, I hope they work better than my solar panels at home, Chris.
How many have you got?
A fair few. Not what would you say? How many did you say?
Yeah, in excess of 800 here.
Not as many as that.
Okay. Kelman getting onto a ball forward. He's been a good target man for Orient so far here. They are 1-0 up against Manchester City, the Premier League champions, the 7-time FA Cup winners, and a side that in the last 6 seasons Manchester City have got to at least the FA Cup semi-final in all of them.
And the Olays have come maybe slightly early. Leyton Orient strung a few passes together. But they are, before the start of the game, a team who have great confidence. The longer the season's gone, they lost the last game against Stockport, but that confidence has grown. And something to hang on to in this game. Still got the work cut out against the mighty Manchester City, and they've changed of style, haven't they, in terms of that back 5, 3 centre-halves.
Here's Gundogan. They were on an 11-match unbeaten run, Orient, in League One before that defeat to Stockport here last week. Remember, there's games going on at lunchtime across the EFL today. We've got a packed day of FA Cup football with commentaries to come from Wigan, Fulham, from Birmingham, Newcastle, from Brighton, Chelsea later on tonight as well. And of course, don't forget that massive Six Nations game at Twickenham between England and France, which will be live on 5 Live and BBC Sounds for you this afternoon as well. That is a 4:45 start there with Chris Jones and the team. But here, Orient of League One, 1-0 up against Manchester City from the first half. And this is Grealish. We're 6.5 minutes into the second. Grealish dancing his way into the box, blocked by Jordan Brown, the Orient midfielder, with his blonde hair, and behind for a Manchester City corner.
Yeah, swing of the hips from Jack Grealish going past Galbraith. I think the change from Richie Wellens, he wants Galbraith to go head-to-head with Grealish. James was struggling, so he's moved inside to 3 centre-halves, and Manchester City a chance with this corner.
Yeah, Omar Marmoush is over it with the black gloves on into that near post. His corners haven't been great today, Marmoush, and that one wasn't brilliant either, and it's given Orient a bit of time to clear it away.
Ever since you said he had wonderful delivery, he's had a little bit of a stink, hasn't he?
I had a feeling you were going to reference that again from the first half. £58 million signing from Frankfurt, Omar Marmoush, with his 37 goals in his 67 games for them. Here's Grealish with that trademark long hair, with a 1-2 on the edge of Orient's box, into the feet of Bernardo Silva. It's bounced for Gundogan, that might have been on target, and then Rico Lewis on the follow-up. sends it over the top of the crossbar and behind for a goal kick. So off we go to Ellen Road, because Fraser Dainton, you've got a goal early in the second half.
We have indeed, and Millwall have got a second. Femi Aziz fair waltzing into the Leeds United box after they'd lost possession, rifling a left-footed shot into the bottom left-hand corner. Millwall lead here at Leeds 2-0.
That is a scoreline that might be of interest and perhaps would be considered a shock, but Leeds have made multiple changes in that game, and I think really their focus is on getting back to the Premier League.
Absolutely. I thought they might, which is why I predicted a Millwall win. My BBC predictions.
And what did you predict for this one? Remind me.
I predicted what everybody else did, I think. Chris?
Perhaps not. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 0 as Grealish met by the firmest tackle again by Ethan Galbraith. The ball's gone out for a Manchester City throw deep inside Orient's half on the left. Grealish wants a free kick. It is only going to be a throw, and Orient are going to make a change here, so this is going to be their first, and Dialang Jayasimi is getting a warm reception from Brisbane Road, and coming on, 39-year-old Darren Pratley, who turns 40 in April and has actually played against Manchester City before, 13 years ago in the Premier League for Bolton Wanderers, and he lost both of those games, but he's entering this one in a very different situation. Let's quickly go to the Women's FA Cup 5th round game between Villa and Brighton. Nick Hatton.
Yeah, Brighton back into this game, Chris. It's Villa 3, Brighton 2. Nikita Paris with a second of the game. Ball played through to Paris, raced into the area and fired home from 12 yards out. So 17 to go. It's Villa 3, Brighton 2.
It's good to one for Manchester City. 1-0 down at Leyton Orient here. Pep Guardiola's team. Can't just about see the legs of Pep Guardiola from here, Chris. Can you see a black and white trainer down there and the bottom half of his legs? He sat down in the dugout.
Yeah, he must have a frown. I mean, City realistically only left in 2 competitions really which they possibly could win: the Champions League and the FA Cup. I think they're out of the Premier League title race. It tells you how important this last 35 minutes is for Manchester City's season.
Real Madrid for Manchester City on Tuesday night, Mansfield for Leyton Orient on Tuesday night. But it's these two together right now, and Manchester City, who have dominated possession at the start of this second half, are behind, and 10 minutes have already disappeared for City as O'Reilly curls it round the corner from that left back position, and he's found Marmouche, and Keeley spread himself to make the save, and then Marmouche trying to get to the rebound, couldn't quite because Keeley had a flick at the ball and got enough on it, and Orient hurry it behind for a corner.
I've got to say, wonderful ball from O'Reilly into Marmouche, but what a save from Josh Keeley, narrowing the angle.
Short corner taken by City. Marmouche for Grealish, Grealish for Rico Lewis. Oh, it's deflected in. It's 1-1. Rico Lewis's effort came through a crowd. It took a mighty hit which deceived Josh Keeley, who was static, who could do nothing about it, the Orient keeper, and Manchester City, through a stroke of fortune, make it one apiece.
Is that a piece of luck which changes Manchester City's fortunes this season? Quick corner it was. Federico Lewis, 20 yards out, edge of the box, takes a touch and fires a shot, and there's a deflection, wicked deflection. I think Keeley was heading straight for him, and goes to Keeley's right hand side. Keeley, Root had just made 2 really excellent saves. And Manchester City back level. Can Leyton Orient respond again?
And this has sucked the energy out of the Brisbane Road crowd all of a sudden. Straight to Ellen Road, penalty with you, Fraser Dainton.
Pascal Struijk has the ball on the spot for Leeds United, given a penalty after Kundal shoved down Yonto. Struijk then left-footed. Oh, and he's come off the bar. It's come off the post, in fact. Pushed away, a little hand on the ball there by Liam Roberts, who's had an absolute stormer in the Millwall goal, getting a hand on the ball and turning it onto the woodwork. Millwall still lead 2-0.
So Leeds missing the chance to half the deficit against Millwall in that other early FA Cup game, and here Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 1, and now the main bulk of noise is coming from that small section of Manchester City fans, Chris, opposite us in the East Stand. But hang on a second, here's Kelman down the other end for Leyton Orient. They're number 23 on loan from Queen's Park Rangers, holding the ball up, getting it to Galbraith, and Galbraith putting his foot on the ball into the feet of Darren Pratley with that shaved head, and then Tom James, and back on the halfway line it goes to happy again, and Leyton Orient just need to recalibrate themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. They're trying to string a few passes together.
Given away by Brown, straight into the feet of Grealish on the halfway line, but then a heavy touch by Marmoush, and Pratley is fighting with him, and Perkins has spun away from the tackle here. Sonny Perkins, he's outside the box, he's gone for goal anyway, why not? And it doesn't reach Ortega's goal because there was a queue of Manchester City players in the way of his effort.
Yeah, there's a sharp turn from Perkins. Kelman was late making his run. That's why Perkins took the shot on.
And now Pratley over on the left wing, barged into by the substitute Kusanov, who only had eyes for the ball, but he didn't reach the ball. The Manchester City substitute, and it's a Leyton Orient free kick.
Yeah, you know what, it's a really careless challenge from Kusanov. Pratley making a run in that left-hand channel, getting his body in, and that's one thing which I'm sure Pep Guardiola would have talked about guarding against. Don't give any daft free kicks away in and around the edge of the box. This is where Leyton Orient, they can hurt Manchester City. Dan Happy, all of 6'6", I think. It's a giant.
So Leyton Orient, free kick, left-hand side, inside Manchester City's final third, going towards the south stand, the Tommy Johnston stand there. Record goal scorer Leyton Orient in their history. Are they going to rattle the cage of Manchester City again here? Donnelly with his left foot. Oh, it's deflected and it carried wide. I think Brown was in there. He was close, and so was Kelman as well, who might have made the final contact on it.
Yeah, it was that one off the training ground. Donnelly whipped in near post, and I think it was Brown's contact. Ortega was rooted, 8 yards out? Level with the near post. What an opportunity for Leyton Orient to nick back in front.
Let's go back to the Stadium of Light. Another goal with you, Adam Cottier, Sunderland, Watford.
Watford have turned this game on its head. They lead by 2-1. It's a brilliant 25-yard shot, left-footed into the top corner from Imran Louza after a driving run from Georgi Chakmatadze. It is Sunderland 1, Watford 2.
That Manchester City goal, by the way, has officially been credited, I'm told, to Abdulkadir Kusanov, because it was his deflection that from Rico Lewis's hit that carried it past Josh Keeley, so he has his first Man City goal.
I'd give him the goal if he meant it.
Did he mean it? I mean, we haven't got a replay of it, so it's difficult to see in real time for us, as McAtee deep inside Orient's half on that right side. Orient get the ball back, but only briefly. Rico Lewis goes and pinches it again for Manchester City. Past the hour, Orient 1, Manchester City 1. Here's one of the half-time changes from Pep Guardiola. John Stones, now O'Reilly to Grealish on this left side. Grealish running across the edge of the box into the penalty area for Marmoush, whose touches in the end were a little too heavy, and he's been shepherded out, and it's a goal kick.
Yeah, you just wonder now, Manchester City really upping the tempo. And some Leyton Orient players looking tired, looking fatigued, but look, Chris, if you'd have offered Leyton Orient 1-1 with Manchester City 30 minutes ago, they would have taken that. Of course they would have done. Got to still defend resiliently and have that threat up top.
And remember, there are no replays, so this game has to be decided here today. So as it stands, we are going to extra time in East London.
They like going the distance, don't they, the O's?
Yeah, Boreham Wood in round 1. Got through on penalties. Leyton Orient needed extra time to beat Oldham in round 2, and then another penalty shootout to knock Championship side Derby County out in the third round, who have sacked their manager Paul Warne this week as well. This is Grealish, 15 yards inside Orient's half. In the middle of the pitch is Gundogan with that jet black hair. He's picked the gap for McAtee. McAtee with the onward pass. He's got it back again. McAtee's poked it wide of the post. There might have been a shout for a Manchester City penalty in there as well. McAtee, with the outside of his boot, has curled that probably about half a yard wide of Keeley's post.
McAtee, I think, should have scored, but I think it's Marmoush. I thought he was fouled inside the box as he went to lay a little setback for McAtee. He's asking the referee. I think that Leyton Orient have got away with one there. Not a clear foul on Marmoush, but having said that, McAtee should have made certain himself with the finish.
Pep Guardiola is furious down on the touchline, by the way. Orient are scampering forward down the left-hand side with Jack Curry, cut out by Kusanov. Orient throw. He was right out there, Chris, on the edge of his technical area, barking at referee Darren Bond, and he had something to say to Dean Whitestone, the fourth official, too.
Well, in fairness, I don't blame him. Looked quite an obvious one. As you say, we don't have the benefit of seeing a replay, but just in real time it looked like a foul on Mamouche, a careless challenge.
And he doesn't have the benefit of VAR today, Pep Guardiola, as he normally would. Orient 1, Manchester City 1. Orient throw, left-hand side, in towards Happy. It's bounced in the box, it's headed away by Bernardo Silva, misplaced by Pratley, and then the header from Kelman was weak in the end, and Ortega runs across to his near post to take it. I'll tell you what, those who are watching in the flats, Chris, all around this stadium, look at, we've got flats in all four corners of this ground here at Brisbane Road, and pretty much every single balcony has got people on it, ranging from 2 people to, in some cases, about 25.
Yeah, just imagine if Leyton Orient make the Premier League.
Here's O'Reilly, left-footed up to the far post. Marmouche with the downward header, and Marmouche is going to get it again. And now Gundogan, it's another deflection. It's a save by Keeley. He's reacted really well to that, the Leyton Orient goalkeeper, because there was another deviation on the shot, but he managed to get down quickly to Spurs loanee.
Yeah, and I think even when Keeley makes the save, Curry is alert enough. There are 2 Manchester City players lurking to tap the ball in. Rico Lewis, one of them, and Curry makes the clearance, but smart save from Keeley, edge of the box. Ilkay Gundogan with a side-footed effort. And Keeley, that must be 3, 4, 5 crucial saves he's made for Leyton Orient.
And Richie Wellens, perhaps sensing a bit of danger, is taking off Sonny Perkins here, one of his attacking players, and he's bringing on centre-half Brandon Cooper, formerly of Swansea City, who was on loan here last season but is now a permanent member of Orient's ranks. Big, broad centre-back, and that is immediately where he's going into, with instructions as well for his teammates as he runs to take his place alongside Dan Happy inside that Orient box.
Yeah, and I assume that Ethan Galbraith will go back into midfield. Cooper running on that right-hand side. And James back out to right wing back. That battle with Jack Grealish.
Latest in League One, Charlton 2, Stevenage 0. 1-1 here. Leyton Orient, League One, 6th in League One, in a big scrap right now for a playoff spot. And having led against Manchester City in the first half, it's now 1-1, a goal that's been credited to Kusanov after Rico Lewis's effort deflected off him from the edge of the penalty area and past Keeley, who's had an excellent game in that Leyton Orient goal. And Manchester City with the ball at the feet of John Stones, right-footed, out to this left-hand side for Bernardo Silva. Silva's low ball in, bit of miscommunication in there, prodded away by Jordan Brown, picked up again by Silva for City. 20 yards outside the box, Kusanov lifting it in, happy with the headed clearance away, the big tall Leyton Orient centre-back, and they've managed to work it out to Galbraith on this right-hand side with a couple of step-overs, showing his class on the ball, Galbraith, and now Donnelly trying to pierce the Manchester City backline with a pass to Curry, who had actually gone offside anyway, so City free kick.
I thought Curry may have worked himself back into an onside position. Good feet from Galbraith. And a bit of composure. Leyton Orient haven't had much of the ball in this second half, to be expected, but they do need to try and keep the ball better at times, because it's just coming back, isn't it? Wave after wave after wave of Manchester City attacks.
How long can Leyton Orient sustain this pressure for? But then in the last rounds we had Tamworth and Tottenham, and that one of course went the distance, and nobody expected that. So if Tamworth can keep Tottenham at bay, you'd imagine that Leyton Orient might feel that they can keep Manchester City away from their goal long enough to force this one to go all the way as well. Here is McAtee trying to flick it. I think his intended pass was to Grealish. It ended up almost coming to Marmouche, and it's been put out of play by Happy on this near left-hand side for a Manchester City throw.
Yeah, I think Grealish had passed and followed his run. McAtee, little backheel, little flick, and Happy eventually doing the right thing. Expected his keeper to come, but took no chances.
Were FA Cup semi-finalists in 1978, Leyton Orient, when they were beaten by Arsenal. It's probably the finest FA Cup story they've got to date. Here's Grealish on the periphery of Leyton Orient's penalty area. The 1-2 with Marmoush doesn't materialise. They're trying to do things ever so quickly, Manchester City. Halfway through the second half now. And then Stones ball up towards Marmoush. Bit of miscommunication. He's let it run. And Keely's got it, the Orient keeper. 1-1.
Yeah, Marmoush and Grealish. That understanding not quite there. Little over from Marmoush and Grealish. Not quite in line. Pratley now on the ball for Leyton Orient, trying to bring his experience to this game just to try and give Leyton Orient a real foothold in this second half.
It's amazing, isn't it, that he's still going at this level with 40 on the horizon in April for Darren Pratley.
That's a testament to the way that he's dedicated himself to the game, and his fitness levels must be phenomenal. I remember feeling tired when I was 26, Chris.
I'm told he uses acupuncture. That's the reason for the longevity of his career.
That was my problem, was it?
Right, let's head to the Hawthorn, shall we? Because there's a goal with you, Paul Scott, West Brom, Sheffield Wednesday.
We thought there was against the run of play. Sheffield Wednesday had the ball in the back of the net. JD Gassimer cutting in from the left-hand side. His low finish found the bottom corner, but belatedly, after consultation with the referee and his assistant, the flag has gone up and the goal has been disallowed. It's still West Brom 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0.
Well, whoever wins that game today will put themselves in a really firm position in terms of their playoff ambitions this season. West Brom and Sheffield Wednesday, two teams who are having a good season. Here's James lifting it forward, cut out by Kusanov, but he's lost the ball and he needs to get back into position here because Orient have got it with Galbraith. He's tried to switch the play from the right side all the way out to the left for Kelman, who's now pretty much over by the corner flag. Kelman, he's got Rico Lewis for company, and he's got the Leyton Orient throw.
I tell you, I've been really impressed with Kelman. Had to lead the line at times on his own, hasn't had the support, but he's been good. He's had good variation to his play as a centre forward, hasn't always come to feet, has shown and run the channels, running behind and wins his side a throw in. They've got a long throw. Happy's gone forward, Simpson has gone forward. They see this as an opportunity.
20 minutes to go, 1-1 between Leyton Orient and Manchester City. In comes the throw, cleared away by Rico Lewis, back into the box by Jordan Brown, and then punted upfield by Jack Grealish.
That's very un-Manchester City-like, isn't it? Oh, straight down the field from Jack Grealish.
Jack Grealish, who will be more desperate, I think, than anybody to have an impact in this game because of his current predicament with Manchester City, his lack of game time. Pep Guardiola apologising to him in his pre-match press conference yesterday. Here's Galbraith for Orient. Donnelly, right side of Manchester City's penalty area. The cross from James, blocked by the back of Grealish, back at the feet of James again. And Leyton Orient will come at Manchester City once more with Donnelly and James, those two combining. Tom James, who did play one game in the Premier League 11 years ago for Cardiff against Chelsea. Into their own half to restart with Dan Happy, the centre-back, Leyton Orient. High ball out to the right-hand side, looking for James, who'd crept up into Manchester City's half, and O'Reilly got the shout that Galbraith was coming, kept him away from it, and Manchester City restart it with Bernardo Silva, who plays it out to the right-hand side for Rico Lewis. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 1, Wigan, Fulham, Birmingham, Newcastle, Brighton, Chelsea. We've got all of those games in the FA Cup live on 5 Live today, 5 Live Sports Extra, Everton, Bournemouth as well. You can listen to Leeds, Millwall right now on 5 Live Sports Extra. England against France as well in the Six Nations. We'll be at Twickenham for that for full coverage. Great afternoon of sport. Italy, Wales getting underway in around about 10 or so minutes time at the Stadio Olimpico too.
Yeah, and here we go, Manchester City having, I think it's fair to say, the luxury of bringing on Kevin De Bruyne and Phil Foden. I mean, poor old Leyton Orient, they've worked so hard in this second half. Manchester City getting back in the game, and then they see Foden and De Bruyne.
But in a way, Chris, I guess that's who they wanted to see today.
Absolutely, yeah. Or is it? No,
Maybe not now.
I know what I would have preferred if I was a Leyton Orient player. And it's Phil Foden, who, I've got to say, like virtually every Manchester City player, started the season pretty poorly, but is a player now finding his form. And De Bruyne, we all know about his qualities and his ability to impact a game, change a game.
So internationals Foden and De Bruyne on for Manchester City, but Bernardo Silva's lost the ball here, and Kelman's run with pace into the box. Ortega's left the ball, but that was ultimately the right decision from the goalkeeper, because it's run away for a goal kick.
You don't normally see goalkeepers withdraw their arms when a cross is fizzed in across their 6-yard line, but I think he was well aware, Ortega, that there wasn't a Leyton Orient attacker lurking behind him.
Still 1-1, just a bit of housework. It was O'Reilly and McAtee that have come off for Manchester City. James McAtee, who got a big hug from his manager Pep Guardiola as well as he departed. As Kelman trying to put Stones under a bit of pressure with the long ball in the Manchester City defence. The Premier League champions have got it again, and they've got it on the halfway line with Rico Lewis, whose bit of ambition has led to that Manchester City equaliser here, even though it's gone down as Kusanov's goal. 1-1 the scoreline, and Gundogan putting his foot on the ball in the centre circle of this slightly sandy looking Brisbane Road pitch. There's a slight orange tinge to it.
Yeah, I think the pitch has played pretty well though, hasn't it?
This is Marmouche trying to bring the ball down on the surface that we're talking about here at Brisbane Road, with that stand opposite us, Chris, the east stand, with the big red letters of Leyton Orient poking out. It's almost like a little shed that's been added onto the roof with the club's name on it. Very old school. It's great. It's just a great old school stadium, isn't it?
It is. I've got to say, I never played here as a player. I've driven past the stadium once or twice, but that's impressive. Lovely atmosphere.
And we are 16 minutes away from potential extra time. But here comes City. De Bruyne's crossed on the left, headed away as far as Bernardo Silva. Silva's got it out of his feet. He's got it back to De Bruyne on the left-hand side. De Bruyne's cross, and there was one or two arriving onto the scene with some pace there. Manchester City keeping it with Kusanov. Almost fell for Savinho, didn't it?
It did. It was Kevin De Bruyne with the underlap. And then the ball eventually coming back to him, and he doesn't waste many passes. Saw the run of Savinho, but I've got to say, Curry, in the first half, he got a few going overs from Savinho. He stuck to his task pretty well in this second half and did enough to get Savinho out of the way.
Listen to the noise of Brisbane Road. Those Orient fans sensing that their team need them. Many of them are on their feet as well, with a sea of red and white all around us here. And I've noticed as well, Chris, a little Scotland flag, almost a nod as if you were coming here today from the Orient fans. It says Kilmarnock Orient on it. Down to our right.
Don't ask me what the relationship there is.
This is Grealish from the touchline, heading it infield. De Bruyne challenged well by Galbraith, who's been brilliant in that Orient midfield today, just in terms of breaking things up. But his forward pass is out of the reach of Kelman, and out of the penalty area comes Ortega to sweep it up for Manchester City. And then De Bruyne can't escape the attentions of Jordan Brown. So another long ball forward, which Kelman has brought down for Orient. He's in the box, right side. Kelman's effort. Ortega pushes it away into Leyton Orient corner, 1-1.
He's done so well, Kelman. And I think he's had a little look. He's out in the right-hand channel and is looking for one of the Leyton midfielders to support him. He has a look, doesn't get any support, so thrashes a shot from the corner of the 18-yard box and goes for power, as he should do. And Ortega, at his near post, pushes the ball behind for a corner. Donnelly over to take it.
Scored the opening goal against Derby County in the last round, Charlie Kelman, on loan from Queen's Park Rangers. Texan-born forward Charlie Kelman. Donnelly to take the corner from the right-hand side in front of the vociferous section of Orient fans. Ortega's punch away from the edge of his 6-yard box. That wasn't convincing.
And he got away with that, didn't he, Ortega? How jammy was he?
Oh, and then a nasty tackle on Marmouche. That is one that has gone right down the back of Marmouche's heels, and no wonder the referee is trying to get Jack Simpson, I think it is, to come back to him to say, you're getting a yellow card for that.
Was it Simpson or
sorry,
Cooper?
no, it was Cooper.
It was Cooper, yeah. That was a poor one, and the Manchester City players, I think quite rightly, enraged. We saw a booking in the first half for a City player, didn't we? And I think Leyton Orient got away with a couple this afternoon. I think Pep's having a word or two.
Well, it's one of those tackles, wasn't it, where Cooper wasn't going for the ball. He had no intention of going for the ball. He just wanted to rake the studs down the back of Mamouche's leg, and you have seen red cards given for tackles like that.
Yeah, no intention to play the ball. I mean, it's one of those you know what he's trying to do, but fortunate not to see a card of some sort of colour.
So, Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 1. If you're just joining us here on 5 Live, perhaps you're on your way to a game yourself today. Orient led in the first half, City have come back into it in the second. Here's Rico Lewis in the Orient box, couple of step overs, Foden on the edge of the penalty area, had it taken away from him, and then Pratley's completed that challenge on the England international. The City retrieve it again with Bernardo Silva, but it's back on the halfway line now.
Galbraith as well when the ball to Phil Foden fed across the box. He's trying to let the ball run across his body onto his left foot, and Galbraith snapped.
Here's De Bruyne running into the box of Manchester City. He's poked it in. Kevin De Bruyne has scored. Jack Grealish making the goal, clipping it over the Orient defence, and De Bruyne on the stretch, reaching it just before Josh Keeley, and having been sent on to rescue the game for Manchester City. That, it seems, is what Kevin De Bruyne has done. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 2.
That's the beauty of the bench, isn't it, from Manchester City? Able to bring on the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Phil Foden. Lovely ball from Jack Grealish out on the left-hand touchline. Kevin De Bruyne makes a trademark run of his in behind the three centre-backs of Leyton Orient, and Keeley comes, and Kevin De Bruyne just at the stretch pokes the ball past him into the far corner. A couple of Leyton Orient defenders trying to get back and keep the ball out of the goal, not able to do so. Manchester City in front, and you've got to say, second half they've been mostly dominant, but can Leyton Orient dig deep and keep their FA Cup dream alive?
Well, as soon as that ball went in, there was the obvious roar from the Manchester City supporters, and then it was matched by a roar of encouragement from the Orient fans to say, hey, this cup tie isn't done yet. Kevin De Bruyne with his 9th goal in this competition. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 2. It's all over in the Women's FA Cup 5th round game between Villa and Brighton with you, Nick Hatton.
Yes, Aston Villa take their place in the quarter-finals. A 3-2 win here over Brighton. Pretty even first half. Nikita Paris giving Brighton the lead on the stroke of half-time. Through ball wasn't dealt with by the Villa defence, and Paris dinked home from 6 yards out. 60 seconds later, though, Anna Patton made it 1-1. Rachel Daly and Chastity Grant scoring twice in 4 minutes, giving Villa a 3-1 lead. Paris' second of the game made it nervy with 18 minutes to go, but Villa held on. They go to the quarter-finals. They win 3-2.
We have Manchester City's women going into the League Cup final this week as well with their win over Arsenal. Here come Manchester City's men with Foden. Foden feeding it down the right-hand side. Savinio deep inside Leyton Orient's half. Out there with him is Jack Simpson, the former Bournemouth defender. And back it comes to Rico Lewis. We're inside the final 10 minutes. Former Premier League winner Chris Sutton, part of our commentary team. How do Leyton Orient do it again, Chris?
Well, they're not going to get many opportunities with Manchester City's dominance of the ball. They've got to hang on in there and hope maybe a long throw, a set piece, or maybe a 50-yard shot, Chris, will get them back in it.
Swindon 3, Port Vale 2 is the latest in the EFL League 2 this afternoon. Swindon get another victory. I think I'm right in saying that will be 5 in a row, and Ian Holloway is doing a remarkable job down there. Manchester City have had to work hard to try and get the job done here. They've come from behind, they're leading, they're on the attack again here. Savinio with the orange boots into Orient's penalty area, picked up by Rico Lewis, driven across goal and deflected behind of Happy. It's a Manchester City corner.
And second half especially, they've worn Leyton Orient down with the movement of the ball, the quickness of the passing. Manchester City, you can see a fair few Leyton Orient players hands on hips. They're hanging on in there, they're scrapping, they're fighting, but City really very dominant, have total control of this game.
And there's quite a few Manchester City players that have gone forward to try and finish the game from the corner here, which is headed away at the near post. And now picking it up on the far left-hand side is Galbraith, who thought about scampering forward with it, realised there was nobody ahead of him, the former Manchester United midfielder, so has cleverly restarted things as well from the centre of the pitch.
Incredible energy he's had. He reminds me of one of my Springer Spaniels I used to have. Never stops running.
Which one was that?
It's called Lopez, that one.
Sounds like he should be playing for Manchester City with a surname like that. Here's Foden. And back to Stones on the edge of his penalty area. So Manchester City have had these tricky last couple of away games where they've conceded 9 goals, 4 at Paris Saint-Germain, 5 at Arsenal last week, behind early on here against Leyton Orient, but they've stayed resolute and strong and full of belief.
Yeah, I mean, on a different level. We knew that coming into the game, showing their quality, but they have shown that they are brittle this season.
Here's Grealish. De Bruyne on the overlap, his ball with the outside of his boot across the box. Diving upon it is Josh Keeley, the Leyton Orient goalkeeper, in lime green. Thinks about sending it upfield quickly and then overarm bowls it out to the opposite side, the left, so Jack Curry can get it moving for Leyton Orient, but they've only got 7 minutes left now to try and take this game to extra time. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 2.
Yeah, only takes a moment though. One opportunity, one half chance. You saw when they took the lead as Galbraith just makes his run early. He's out on the right wing. He is covered every blade of grass, hasn't he? Ethan Galbraith for Leyton Orient.
He did play once for Manchester United, Ethan Galbraith, and that was in 2019 in a Europa League game against Astana, the Kazakhstan team. So with Manchester City in possession in their back line, it seems they are going to be the ones, after early turmoil, that are going to be going through to that FA Cup 5th round draw, which is on Tuesday night. We've got another live FA Cup game for you from 3 o'clock. It's Wigan against Fulham, and Ian Dennis has got the team news.
And Wigan have made 3 changes. Mellish is cup-tied, Thomas is out injured, as Robinson, Adiko and Asamoah come in for the League One side. As for Fulham, Chris, they've made 10 changes from the side that beat Newcastle. Only Castagna remains in the starting 11.
Thanks very much, Ian, and of course I'm sure it'll be mentioned a couple of times about the Wigan and Manchester City FA Cup connection in the commentary with Pat Nevin from 3 o'clock this afternoon. We'll have Birmingham against Newcastle with John Murray and Leon Osman from 6:15, which begins on 5 Live Sports Extra with the rugby on 5 Live England against France in the Six Nations, and then tonight Brighton against Chelsea from 8 o'clock with Lee Blakeman and Matt Jarvis. We're going to have a flurry of changes here. Just keeping my eye, Chris, on all those who are coming on. Dan Adji is one of them, so it's his first appearance since New Year's Day for Leyton Orient after he got injured in that game against Bristol Rovers. So he is on, so is Dom Ball, who was in the Ipswich 11 that were knocked out of the FA Cup by Maidstone last season. And completing the trio of changes, Zach Obiero, who scored the winning penalty for Leyton Orient in the 3rd round shootout against Derby County.
Yeah, and looks like Adji's gone up top alongside Kelman, so 2 strikers up playing off each other. Last throw of the dice really from Richie Wellens. Has to be more attacking in his approach and be brave. Nothing to lose now.
Less than 5 minutes to go at Brisbane Road, and the Manchester City fans opposite us making themselves heard on an afternoon where they must have feared at one point that it was going to hit a new low for them their season, which has been a difficult one. But Leyton Orient aren't done yet, and that high ball forward has been clattered out of play by Bernardo Silva for an Orient throw, right hand side, more than halfway inside Manchester City's half. We're into the last 4 minutes. Richie Wellens down there, edge of his technical area. Look at him trying to get tactical instructions over to his players ahead of this throw. He's asked Tom James just to wait so he can tell the players exactly where he needs them to go here. Richie Wellens desperately pointing as James winds up a long throw, the Orient fullback into that near post, off De Bruyne's head, sent towards goal by Cooper, cleared away by Kusanov, is back into the box again. It's Pratley on the spin, and he shoots over the top of the crossbar.
What a story that would have been. Darren Pratley, they keep it alive, Leyton Orient, in and around the box, the ball fed into him, quick swivel, and he fires a shot a couple of yards over the bar. Leyton Orient will just be hoping. Richie Wellens, he'll be saying, give me one more chance.
Let's get the latest team news from one of those other games that are taking place in the FA Cup 4th round today at 3 o'clock. Off we go to Coventry against Premier League Ipswich. Charlie Slater.
Changes aplenty, both sides focusing on their respective league campaigns. 5 for Coventry, 11 for Ipswich. Calvin Phillips starts, as does Jayden Philogene on his 23rd birthday.
We'll head to Goodison Park very shortly to get the team news from Everton Bournemouth as well with Conor McNamara. But first, an Orient throw. They're 2-1 down, 2.5 minutes to go. James launching it into the box. It's bounced over the head of Pratley, who couldn't quite reach it. Manchester City clear. Marmouche got caught by Obiero. Well, the Orient fans don't like that. It's going to be a City free kick. So come in Conor McNamara with the team news from Merseyside.
What a shift there has been since the return of David Moyes. Everton standing tall again, and they want to keep it going. Just one change from the win over Leicester last weekend. Ashley Young from Mikolenko. New signing Charlie Alcaraz is on the bench. Bournemouth, who lost to Liverpool last weekend, make 4 changes. Cook, Winterburn, Jefferson and Tavernier all come into the team.
Thank you, Conor. Manchester City haven't taken that free kick just yet. We're in the last 2 minutes. John Stones eventually does take it from the halfway line, and he's got too much on it. Out of play beyond Jack Grealish. So to St Mary's we go for Southampton. Burnley. Chris Coles will be watching that one.
Plenty of changes here as well. 4 for Southampton from a rare win over Ipswich. McCarthy, Manning, Sulemana and Dibbling. In for Ramsdale, Gruenbach, Onuachu and Harwood Bellis. 8 for Burnley. Only CJ Egan-Riley, Hannibal and Bashir Humphreys keep their places from a 1-0 win over Oxford.
We'll be right across the FA Cup 4th round this afternoon on 5 Live and via BBC Sounds. If you haven't got the app, you can download it now. You can spin back through all the moments across this weekend of FA Cup football, of Six Nations rugby as well, as we move in towards the final 60 seconds with the scoreline at Brisbane Road. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 2. City have got the ball inside their own box with John Stones, but has Orient's force finally faded for Saturday?
No, when they're giving it a go, really pressing Manchester City. Manchester City playing out from the back. You know, they're excellent at it, but that should be a foul. Another chance, really daft foul from Mamouche into the back of Cooper, and once again Manchester City putting themselves under pressure. Free kick inside the City half, and James over the ball. Happy's gone forward, and here he goes, George Keeley.
Yeah, he's been given the go-ahead, the Leyton Orient goalkeeper. He scored that goal, didn't he? That famous goal that took the game to extra time in round 2 against Oldham. And he's been sent forward for this free kick here. Surely Lightning's not going to strike twice. James sends it in. It's over Keeley's head. Oh, at the far post. It was Dan Happy. He was all on his own, and he's blazed it over the crossbar. And it's still Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 2.
Oh, they should be level. He knows, he runs back, he looks to the sky. Dan Happy, as the ball whipped in from James, and Happy at the back post. He's on the corner of the 6-yard line, just has to control the volley left-footed and get it on target. And Ortega wouldn't have stood a chance, and he blazes it. Side foot volley into the stand behind the goal. That was the chance. That was the opportunity.
And that would have been the story as well, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Man that has been with the club since he was a boy at 14 years old, Dan Happy, and his reaction as he was running back told its own tale, really. Shaking his head, hands on his head. What a chance for Leyton Orient to take this game to extra time, and we are in added time now. 4 minutes of stoppage time. We've already played a minute of it. Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 2, and City with a throw in their left back position, which Bernardo Silva is going to take, and back it goes to Ortega, who hurries it upfield. There's been a relatively late goal at the Hawthorns with you, Paul Scott, between West Brom and Sheffield Wednesday.
Into the final 15 minutes, West Brom have made the breakthrough. Across from Fellows from the right, met by Southampton loanee Adam Armstrong on his debut. West Brom 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0.
He's having a good impact, isn't he, Tony Mowbray, since he's gone in at West Bromwich Albion. Leyton Orient are giving this absolutely everything in the final few minutes of this game. But if they get an equaliser, they've got 30 minutes more to come. Tom James with the Orient throw from the right-hand side. Flicked on into the box, on towards Cooper. Hit by Pratley. Ball drops to the far post. Kelman's effort repelled. Lifted back in by Curry. Manchester City are feeling the heat a bit here from League One Leyton Orient. Kelman's got it again. Left side of Manchester City's penalty area. His cross is blocked. Now Curry Curry's ball into the feet of Kelman, who's eventually got it on the left-hand side, tried to cross it with the outside of his boot. It was blocked, and now City run forward with Marmouche, who takes it off to Bruyne. He's dancing between challenges, Marmouche. This is brilliant. Tom James's challenge, though, has deflected it towards De Bruyne. They've got bodies over here, Manchester City. Good challenge. Just before Savinio could reach it, the outstretched leg of a Leyton Orient defender prods it behind for a Manchester City corner.
It's a welcome break for Manchester City, who are just trying to run the clock down now, but crucial block in his own box from Rico Lewis there from Kelman moments earlier. Leyton Orient have really given this game a go.
And Manchester City are doing some classic time wasting from the corner. How about that?
You couldn't make it up, could you?
Short corner given to De Bruyne, and De Bruyne's instruction is hang on to the ball by the corner flag. Get us over the line from this gritty afternoon in East London.
It's amazing that, you know, Manchester City seeing it through in the manner which they are doing. Mighty Manchester City against little Leyton Orient. Manchester City keeping the ball in the corner.
And De Bruyne has got the ball over there, and they are inside the final 60 seconds here at Brisbane Road now. And Manchester City, the 7-time FA Cup winners, who for quite a sizable portion of this game would have been fearing an early exit from this competition, a rare early exit for Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, but they've spun it round in this second half with those goals from Kusanov, the deflection in off Rico Lewis's shot, and what looks like it's going to be a winner from Kevin De Bruyne. Manchester City have still got the ball inside Leyton Orient's half. It's hooked away by Curry from the edge of his own penalty area. Then he smashes it upfield with his left foot, but City should be able to get a boot on this. And we're in the last few seconds. Orient 1, Manchester City 2. Bernardo Silva allowing that ball to trickle out of play, and we are almost now past those 4 minutes. Chris Sutton.
Yeah, it's clearly not ideal. Manchester City finishing the game with Bernardo Silva at left back, but there you go.
They've won it. There's the full-time whistle after the biggest scare in Manchester City's season, and they've had a few frightening moments over the last few months. They have knocked out League One Leyton Orient, who was so gutsy, full of self-belief, led through the goal, an own goal from Ortega after Jamie Donnelly had lobbed him from fully 50 yards. It bounced off the bar and went in off the goalkeeper, but Manchester City responded in the second half. Kusanov with his first Manchester City goal, he knew nothing about it as it bounced in off him from Rico Lewis's shot, and the winner provided by Kevin De Bruyne, who came off the bench to do just that, to have an impact after Jack Grealish's assist for him. And as Pep Guardiola waves to some of the Leyton Orient supporters inside this stadium, his team are into the 5th round of the FA Cup to continue their remarkable recent record in this competition, and Leyton Orient with great pride bow out.
Yeah, and Pep making a point of applauding the Leyton Orient fans, and fair play to him. And didn't they run Manchester City close? The class came through at the end, and Manchester City able to bring on the likes of Foden and Kevin De Bruyne, who ended up deciding this game. But that moment in the first half, the Donnelly effort, wasn't his goal, but one of the great FA Cup moments. Leyton Orient, they tied in the second half. City's class came through, but boy did Leyton Orient run them close.
Well, the Manchester City players are over applauding with their supporters. The Leyton Orient team are gathered in the centre circle, having conversations, wondering just what might have been on this dramatic afternoon at Brisbane Road, where it has finished Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 2.
And what a chance they had at the end, Chris. What a chance.
Yeah, Dan Happy at the far post, brilliant ball in. He's all on his own at the far post on the corner of the 6-yard line. It's one of those where he's gone for a side foot volley. I think that it's the right technique. He just gets it horribly wrong. All he has to do there is control that on target. The pace was on the ball, and that would have been the moment that Richie Wellens would have been dreaming for. That chance right at the death, and he didn't take it. But I tell you what, they're being applauded. The Leyton Orient players walking, doing a lap of honour, and they didn't half give Manchester City a scare. I hadn't seen too much of Leyton Orient previous to this game, but they are flying in League One. Richie Wellens has got them in a really good place, and they are a club on the up, and they can be very proud of their performance.
They are, and they had a really sticky start to the season as well, did Leyton Orient, but they have flown through that division since sort of November-ish, really.
Well, by all accounts, my mate Fred told me that Josh Keeley header transformed their season.
Yeah.
They went on, I think, an 11-game unbeaten run, and they're flying, they're pushing. League One is so competitive this season. You see Birmingham and Wrexham and Wycombe, but Leyton Orient by rights, and you think about their recent journey. It was what 2018 when they were in the National League, and they've worked their way up through League Two, consolidated last season in League One after Richie Wellens got them up and pushing for a possible championship place. That's a testament to Richie Wellens, his players, and the way the club has been run, and to go toe to toe with Manchester City and be brave, and they were balanced in their approach. They didn't just sit in, they did offer a threat. They can really take a great deal out of their performance this afternoon.
They are dropping out of the League One playoff spots this afternoon because Charlton are winning. So Charlton 2, Stevenage 0 is the latest in League One, and that would see Charlton go above Leyton Orient into the final playoff spot, albeit having played a game more. Thank you to the two Chris's. Manchester City have squeaked through 2-1 at Leyton Orient. The home side beaten there.